right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you're new. Appreciate you joining me today and waiting patiently for the intros to pick up. Dragon Knight, Fred, Vance, Brandon, Corey, what's going on, guys? You ready? You guys ready for a big boss jump? Come here. Here we go. Get a big boss jump. Hopefully he doesn't destroy everything. I may be making a big mistake at the beginning of the stream here. Let's give it a second. Oh my god. Bro, are you... Oh, what a maniac. What a maniac, dude. He doesn't even care. He's just like, let's go. Dude, he's getting crazy with the jumps. And Corey the Legend comes in and drops a 5-bomb on you guys. 5 memberships, courtesy of Corey the Legend Landiga.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
He says he's no hero, but he does it for boss. Thank you for that, Corey. I always appreciate the support, man. You've been doing a lot for the community and doing a lot for the channel. And also, I was looking into some kind of boss statue. I may have found it. I'm not entirely sure yet. I may have found the one. So we'll see. We'll see if that ends up happening. But it might be the perfect boss statue. Yeah, so we're talking... Okay, all right. All right, boss, get your ass out of the camera. Nobody wants to see that. They want to see you. They don't want to see they don't want to see that up close. All right. We're talking about PlayStation today. We're talking about PS5 price increase. Bad news. More price increases. Nobody wants to talk about that, but it's the reality. Did I play Stray? Was it good? How many times do you play as a cat in games, right? I did play Stray, and I got the platinum. I loved it. It was an awesome game. I do recommend it. If you know what Stray is and you have any interest in it, then you know I would recommend it. So yeah, we're talking about the PS5 price increases, talking a little bit about Death Stranding 2. Am I buying Indiana Jones? Actually, I'm lucky enough to be getting a code for Indiana Jones. So I definitely will play it and, you know, give you guys my thoughts on it. I'm hoping I'll like it. It does look pretty good. So I'm going to give it a shot. Playing on PS5 Pro. Maybe I could do some streams for it. We'll see. Code from Xbox. Yeah, I reached out to them and they were really kind about it. And they were very cool. So, you know, unless something changes, I should hopefully be getting a code to check that out. And yeah, very, very cool. I'm very thankful for that. Bragging. That's right, guys. I got my code. How about you? Yeah, I did hear about that. The physical version only has 20 gigabytes on the disc. That sucks. Yeah. But I guess, you know, I mean, I guess in this case, I'll be digital. I'm code begging. How dare I? Boss, okay. Feels like Call of Duty always leaks. I mean, it really does seem like it, right? It's like a reveal before the reveal. Dude, stop that. Yo. You can't... All right. You can't bite my water bottle. Don't start this, bro. You want to go? Come on. You want to go? Finally taking the streaming business seriously? We're going to move up in the world. We're going to get there. Boss is so aggro lately. I know. I'm telling you, he's in cahoots with Corey, man. He must be. Come on. There you go. Yeah, go play or something, man. I appreciate that, Brandon. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, there's no guarantee I'm gonna like love Indiana Jones or anything, you know. But I feel lucky because it was a game I was interested in playing, you know. So I'll give it a shot. Um, people were talking to me about the puzzles yesterday, and we'll see how I feel about that. You're looking forward to the review because you don't know if you like it as a non-indie fan. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna wait to like play the whole thing to review it because it'll. I mean, I probably still will. Like, if I complete the game, I'll do like a full like I've done the whole game. I'll tell you what I think, but I'll definitely give you my initial impressions, and give you my thoughts on like how I feel about I guess playing the first couple of hours and getting deeper into it. You played the first hour on PC, Chris, and you liked it, bro. Miracle Cookie. No, we're not. We're not talking about that right now. Okay, we're talking about gaming. Mm-mm. You're saying the first three films are brilliant. If I'm not mistaken, I think this game takes place between the first and second movie. I know the second movie is a prequel, so I think I think the first movie takes place in 1936, and I think the second movie takes place in 1935, and I think what you play in this game takes place between them. Hey, don't chill out. Come on, bro. Over here. Get out. What are you doing? What are you doing in there? Oh my god, this cat isn't. I'm gonna get you your own statue. Calm down. Did I get the code for Concord 2? Not yet. Not yet, Sergeant. You're opening the doors of opportunity for the channel, and that's good. The console wars are over. If some PlayStation fans haven't heard, I mean, yeah, dude. There's no like to me the biggest indicator that the console wars were over was I would say around this time last year when Microsoft reached out to me, and I'm like, oh, well, granted I wasn't as interested then because the games that they were bringing I wasn't too privy to. I mean, but yeah, man, like it's very real. So, we're gonna be talking about the PS5 price increase today, and Corey, I saw you were talking about now being the perfect time to maybe buy the PlayStation 5 Pro if you were interested in it because it seems like the prices really are just getting ready to shoot up for hardware across the board. I don't think anything's going to be. I don't think anything's going to dodge the bullet necessarily. So yeah, I would agree that right now, if you're if you're on the fence about buying a PS5 Pro, now would probably be the time, just in case. Right now, the price of the Pro is not going up, and obviously, there's a lot of intense reaction to the price increase to the PS5 Pro, and it's understandable. This is so bizarre to see. We are like 4 to 5 years into a new generation. Well, it's not a new generation, but a generation of consoles. And we are seeing the prices go up, not go down. We've never seen this before. We do have some Death Stranding news today, Sage Infinite. Yeah, nothing crazy, but there is actually one thing that Kojima just kind of casually revealed about Death Stranding 2 that has not been talked about yet that I actually find pretty interesting because of how unique it is, and it's a very unique approach to difficulty. And I do wonder how people are going to respond to it. Seems like the hardcore Xbox fans are not vocal, right? Or what are you saying? They're not as vocal at the moment. Yeah, I think everybody's just starting to kind of calm down in general. Get her done. Gears of War PlayStation sounds cool. Apparently Gears is coming next. You remember the good? Yeah, I've seen a bunch of people saying that. I remember the good old days when console prices went down and consoles got smaller. Yeah, I mean, nobody knows what the outcome's going to be here, right? But it does seem like if things kind of stay the course, yeah, I don't know. It's looking like those days are long gone. Competition was thriving. Well, when you look at the price increase from Sony, it's in Let me see. I have the PlayStation blog up. So they say with a backdrop of a challenging economic environment, including high inflation and fluctuating exchange rates, they're increasing the price of the PS5 in certain regions. Now, here's what's interesting to me and kind of strange. Well, it's not strange, but like anybody who chooses to buy a digital console in these regions, I find that particularly strange because in the UK and Europe, hold on. Okay, boss. In Europe and the UK, the price of the digital edition PS5 is going up to match the price of the disc version. Only the digital edition. So if you're in Europe or the UK and you haven't bought a PS5 already and you were thinking about buying one, you're going to see a PS5 Slim disc model and a PS5 digital model sitting right next to each other with the same exact price point. I mean, I feel like at that point it's like, yeah, just buy the disc model. Like why would you not buy the disc model? You know what I mean? Like you're gonna pay the same price to get something missing with the console if you go for digital. And to be honest, like it sucks to see the price go up, obviously, and people don't have the opportunity to buy a cheaper console. But as somebody who's an advocate for physical media, I think this is maybe good for physical media to a degree, where it's like, I mean, you walk into a store if you're shopping online, and it's like, what's the difference between the two? One is a disc drive, one doesn't. They're the same price. I mean, that's kind of a W for physical media because that's going to make everybody choose the disc drive version. You're saying it's £430 for a digital PS5. Well, isn't that this? Hold on, isn't that the same price as the PS5 UK price? I thought that was the same price, isn't it? So on PlayStation Direct UK, so oh wait, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me clarify this. So I'm wrong about that. My bad. So in the UK, a disc drive model for the PS5 Slim is £480, and the digital model is $430. So it's still cheaper. What was it previously? My bad. Okay, so scratch that. I didn't realize that. So it's the same for Europe then, if I understand correctly. Maybe Europe's the only one. Saying I called the price hike in other regions in the last stream. I'm right about the wrong things. Oh, I didn't bring my coffee in. Did I watch Jeff Grubb's short video on the price increases? No. What did he say? Guys, hold on. I got to grab my coffee. I have 2 live streams up. What? What? Oh, I knew something was broken. What the fuck? Okay, wait. It says one's scheduled, right? But it's not actually live. Oh, wait. Okay. It is. What? Okay. So hopefully people find the right stream. I don't know what's going on, dude. I don't know what's going on. It's the same title as yesterday. Oh, what in the actual F? What's the title of this stream right now? It's like the title of this stream's correct, right? Get the wakey juice. I don't like the way that sounds, man. It's just the one live stream showing for you. Okay. All right, Muhammad, thank you. That Sage Infinite. Chris, okay, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I don't know what's I've been having that issue recently with my streaming software. I don't know what's no, I don't think it's the NVIDIA drivers. This has something to do with my streaming software where it's like, I don't know why it's creating, there's like 2 stream keys or something. This is the right one. Yeah, I'm sorry. If anybody was going to the wrong stream, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about this. The clone allegations are real. The title is I'm switching to Xbox. Oh no. Uh-oh. All right. Well, it is what it is. I just hope that I did see somebody saying earlier they were trying to donate and it wasn't letting them. So I don't know if it's causing some kind of problem there. I know Corey dropped some member gifts, but Boss looks a bit shocked at the moment. The title is I'm switching to the Nintendo Switch 2. The most criticism Sony's getting right now is from The Last of Us Complete Edition. Well, see, this is, look, you guys know I don't want to be the person because I don't feel comfortable being this person because it's not really the type of person I am. I don't want to be the person to like do the forced positivity thing. And so I don't. I don't. And I think, look, I understand that there are a lot of people, they want my channel to be like the positive PlayStation place or whatever, and I get that. And I want it to be that too, but I can't make it that in a forceful way. I remember what the channel was like in 2020 and 2021 when like at that time people were like, this is going to be the greatest gaming generation ever. And then, reality kind of hit and things didn't necessarily go exactly the way people had imagined. And there has since been just a lot of controversy, a lot of good moments, a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and a lot of just like confusion in between. I look at the last 3 announcements from Sony are as follows. Okay. Number 1, The Last of Us Complete Edition. Number 2, Marathon gameplay reveal. Number 3, PS5 price increase. 2 of those things automatically are not going to be considered good or exciting, especially one of those things. One of those things is just straight up sucks, that being the price increase. The Last of Us Complete Edition, there's no denying that people are going to clown on that. It doesn't have to be a big spectacle, right? But there's going to be hardly any positivity towards it because people are like, this again. And that's understandable. Doesn't mean we have to freak out. It doesn't mean that defines the generation. But then you have the Marathon gameplay reveal, and the conversation around Marathon has not been that great at all. So, again, I try to view things from a broad perspective, and what I can see is that, like, there's 3 back-to-back-to-back announcements where all 3 are, for a lot of people, just a miss. And again, I mean, the price increase for the PS5, who would see that as a good thing? I don't think anybody would consider that a good thing at all. So you have one thing that's just 100% an L. The Last of Us Complete is like a 90% L because people are tired of seeing Naughty Dog re-release it. And then you have Marathon, which is anywhere between a 50 and a 75% L, depending on who you ask. And this is why people feel kind of frustrated with PlayStation still, because it just feels like it's like they're doing things. They're definitely doing things. Do I have an old sock on my head? Radic, you like it? You like it, bro? That's funny, man. And the Caped Crusader comes in and joins Greatness Awaits. He becomes a member. Caped Crusader.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You do know I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for the support. And it looks like you've been a long time member as well. So thank you for renewing your membership, man. 60% L for marathon. Yeah. Between 50 and 70, 60 sounds about right. Yeah. That sounds about right. Because I've seen some positivity towards it. It would be a lie if I said I didn't see positivity or excitement. I mean, broadly speaking, I don't know. I don't know if it lies at 60 or if it lies closer to 70. Thank you for that, Ray. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, man, you know, I'm not trying to like complain about Sony. It's just I think people want to get back to feeling, just generally speaking, more excited from a social standpoint. Cuz like I see a lot of people are like I still enjoy PlayStation. Like, hey, the marathon thing doesn't confront me. The price, like here, I'll be honest, man. I do have to. There's just this is a real thing that I thought yesterday because I was reading so many replies from people with the PS5 price increase, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but it's just like you do have to wonder how many people are expressing how upset they are about the price increase, even though they already bought their PS5. And I'm not saying it means you shouldn't care. You should still pay attention because the reality is a price increase to the PS5 likely means that for future PlayStation hardware, you might have to worry. So there is some cause for concern. Yeah, the implication is real, but it's just some of the reactions I've seen from people where they're making it sound like their entire life is ruined and they're done. Like I saw people talking like they're quitting gaming in PlayStation. And I'm like, bro, something tells me you already own a PS5 Pro. you know, and something tells me you don't even live in this region. And I get it, man. Like I'm not saying that I expect people to have any type of good reaction. You're not supposed to have a good reaction to this, but it's all like every single thing that Sony does, there is this insane overreaction that it's just like, I don't think the overreaction helps. Because if the overreaction helped anything, then by that logic, none of this should be happening. And I think, unfortunately, what the overreaction does is it makes these companies less receptive to to the message that people are actually trying to convey. And that's what worries me, is that like people have gotten so comfortable being overreactionary to everything PlayStation does that's not perfect or amazing, that it makes me fear that I don't like, are they even paying attention anymore? Because anytime they go to try to pay attention, all they see are people acting like rabid animals, you know? But, I guess you could argue that's the nature of the internet in 2025. Caped Crusader with a $5 chat says, long time, but just had this question. Do you think Death Stranding 2 will flop? The collector's edition still hasn't sold out and there's no buzz. It's a fair question. And it's hard not to insert my own like bias into it when I go to answer it. Like I want to say no, of course it's not going to flop. It's going to be good. It's going to do fine. But I'm not entirely sure, man. Like it is true that they announced there was 20 million players for Death Stranding, but when you kind of again dig a little bit deeper, you realize that the overwhelming majority of those players access the game for free in one way or another. They did not go out of their way to purchase the video game. And when you kind of try to figure out, well, how many people did purchase Death Stranding, you realize it was maybe between 4 and 5 million, which is not bad. Like, that's not bad, but that's over the course of, like 5-6 years. And there was this kind of concern at the launch of Death Stranding that maybe it wasn't really the big out of the gate hit that Sony expected it to be, and that people thought Kojima's first game away from Konami would be. Now, with that being said, though, it has a loyal fan base. It has I would say at least 1 to maybe 2 million players that are absolutely, if not at launch over the next year or two of it being out, are going to make time to play it at some point. And I think it has that going for it, but it's always hard to answer these questions. I I would love to have more information so I could give a better answer, because really what it boils down to is what Sony's expectations are of the game. You know, there's an expectation for, here's like the minimum sales threshold that we expect. Here's how many copies we need to sell full price to break even. Um, those expectations are obviously going to be adjusted accordingly based off of how many copies Death Stranding 1 sold in its first year on the market. And so, it is one of these things where, for me personally, I really want to see Death Stranding 2 succeed, because it looks like it's going to be an incredible game. It looks like it's going to be one of the best games of the year, if not one of the best games of the generation. Um, but with that being said, just because I want that to happen doesn't mean it's going to. And I am aware of the fact that the gameplay loop of Death Stranding, which is seemingly going to be mostly the same in Death Stranding 2, it does seem like a lot of people are turned off by it, and no amount of amazing trailer editing or graphical fidelity or amazing, motion capture and everything else, none of that seems is going to seemingly convince a certain group of players, or at least a lot of players who are not interested in this game, to just suddenly be like, actually, I'm going to play it now. And you're saying here, Caped Crusader, with another chat, that I fear Kojima is too infatuated with Hollywood actors and cutscenes. The number one goal of games is to be fun. Plus, they still haven't shown gameplay. Well, see, that's why I said, like, I'm expecting the gameplay loop of Death Stranding 2 to basically be very similar, if not the same, as the first game, where I do think there will be some surprises in between and some different things that will hopefully delight players. But yeah, I think one of the reasons why they're not showing gameplay might be because of that reason, right? Like, I'll be honest with you, man. There's just no denying that, and I was here to witness it. And it's, keep in mind, this is coming from somebody who loves Death Stranding 1. When Kojima showed the first ever gameplay of Death Stranding 1 in, I think it was September of 2019, which indicates, we might see gameplay soon. It was at, I think, Tokyo Game Show. There's no denying that the conversation around that game flipped after that gameplay presentation. I saw a lot of people that seemingly were on board after they saw that gameplay. They're like, what was that? No, thank you. And I do wonder if there's a certain fear of, like, if they want to try to get new players in, maybe they are a little bit afraid to show the gameplay. But then again, if you watch that trailer, it did pretty much show you the gameplay. It wasn't an extended look at gameplay, but it gave you a pretty good idea. Although they did show a lot of action as well. Cape Crusader says, all that said, I still pre-ordered the collectors. Well, yeah, man, you should never let whether a game is going to succeed sales-wise or, financially, you shouldn't let that determine whether or not you want to obviously play the game or be excited for it. But I've encountered many people who, I think, they recognize that this is a bigger game for PlayStation. They recognize that this, like, when I say bigger, I mean like a highly produced game, what would be considered maybe a tentpole title. A lot of people who recognize that it's Kojima, right? And he's considered a legend in the industry. But they're still just like, and I'm going to pass on it. I'm going to pass on it. And I'm really curious to see what the conversation ends up looking like. Yeah, Gaming Survivor, I saw that. I'm afraid to mess with it. I'm afraid if I try to mess with that right now, it's going to end this stream currently, which I don't want to happen. So hopefully, that won't be a problem every stream going forward. I'll have to look into that when this is wrapped up. But, we also have to ask the question, like, the collector's edition still being available, how much does that affect? Like, how much can we gather from that? in terms of anticipation for the game. I mean, there is no denying that the anticipation for the game was that high. I mean, like really through the roof, it would have sold out, presumably. You know, um, does the fact that it's not sold out tell us that this game is going to have a much slower start to sales than we realize? You know, what do the pre-order numbers look like? Is Sony internally panicking right now? You know, like are they seeing pre-order numbers like way below what they expected? I don't know. I mean, we do have to also consider that the game is still a couple months away. So it could be that people are just not paying as much attention to it right now. And as we get closer to launch, it'll ramp up. You think it's going to sell out when there's gameplay? Yeah, that's a good call out, Mohammed. You're saying it's number 5 pre-ordered in the digital store. I'd say that's pretty good for a game that's 2 months away. You know, so I think it's. You think Death Stranding 2 is going to get they're going to cancel it at the last moment. The game's done. They're like, you know what? Never mind. No, I'm really I am optimistic. I'm very optimistic about Death Stranding 2. Not in the sense that I think it's going to like suddenly come out and um skyrocket in sales or anything and like be the next big sales monumental hit, sells 10 million in a week or something. Nothing like that, but I'm just optimistic that I think it will have that audience at launch, and if it reviews very well. I did say this a little while ago when we were talking about Death Stranding 2, and I'll mention it again. I do think that if this game can crack the 90 or higher on Metacritic, if it can manage to do that, I think it's going to sell more copies this time around. Because I think people are going to look at that and be like, "Whoa, wait, hold on, maybe I do." Are you boss? There's no way you just failed that jump. I think they're going to see that and think, oh, damn, Death Stranding sitting at like a 91. Maybe I will give it a shot. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I do think that I think the reality is that people are stacking Kojima's new game. That being Death Stranding back in 2019 when he released his new game. I think they're stacking it up against the mainline Metal Gear games. And when you look at the mainline Metal Gear games, I mean, they're all 90 or above, dude. Some of them are sitting at like 94 or 95, and then you see Death Stranding and it comes in at like an 82 or something like that. And I think that affects people, in their decision to want to buy that game. To whereas I think if Death Stranding 2 comes in, it's like a 93 or 94 on Metacritic or something, based off of like 120 reviews. I think that it's not that I know that will sway a certain group of people and convince them. And we have a super chat from Musashi. Thank you. Saying Kojima is turned on looking at people playing his games where he forces you to walk and go prone into literal boss's excrement and he makes you fight monsters made of shit with your bodily fluids. That is one way to describe some of the interactions and elements that make up Death Stranding among Kojima's other games. I don't usually think of it like this. If you think about it too hard, you begin to realize just how weird Kojima might actually be. And you might start to realize just how weird and potentially off-putting some of the things in his games might be. But again, only if you think about it too hard. It does make you wonder, like, does Kojima get a pass on weird shit? Like, weird shit that, like, if it was any other developer doing something like that, they'd be like, bro, are you okay? But if it's Kojima, it's like, oh, it's Kojima. Because you actually reminded me that, like, yeah, there is, you reminded me that in Death Stranding, you basically can create, like, grenades with your urine that you throw at, like, the monsters or whatever. And it, like, damages them. I must have blocked that out of my memory. He definitely gets more passes than other developers. You can throw it at people too, I think. Urine, poop, or blood. Boss is like, I had to be here for this conversation. Titus says he's cool with it. I also wouldn't show my kid, though. It makes me concerned a little bit. For you know what? Like, I didn't think of it from this angle, Musashi, but maybe it does make me a little bit concerned about, okay, I think Kojima did some really weird stuff in Death Stranding, and he was like looking around like, so I got away with it. And I think now that he's got a sequel, he's like, all right, now I can take it to the next level. Well, I have a newfound anxiety. I have a newfound anxiety for Death Stranding 2 that wasn't there before. So thank you for that, Musashi. Thank you. Let's not talk about it. Let's just let it unfold naturally. Okay. Let's not speculate what it could be. And just let it happen. I've been working on my I got away with it impression. Sony will let him do anything with Death Stranding. You know where I think the really weird stuff's going to be? I think Death Stranding and even the sequel might just be scratching the surface. I think Kojima really reserved the true weird stuff for OD because it's Xbox. And I think he's like, you guys will never fire me. You guys will never be upset with anything I produce. You guys will worship me just for producing something with your logo on it. And I think he's going to put the weird in the, in whatever that game is. And it's going to be so funny, man. It's going to be so funny. Like, it's either going to be literally the dumbest thing we've ever seen attempted in video games or the next big thing, like the greatest thing. But you do have to wonder how Microsoft must have felt when they're like, okay, Kojima, here's your budget for your game you're making us. And then like the next presentation he gives like a year or two later is he just brings like Jordan Peele on stage and just talking about how they're definitely not making a movie. They're definitely making a game. They're just going to hire a bunch of other directors as well who also worked on horror movies to make this definitely game, not a movie game. It was amazing to witness. And Cape Crusader with another super chat says, do you think Kojima Productions' reputation is on the line if Death Stranding 2 doesn't perform well critically and commercially? Will Sony cut ties? To answer the second question first, Sony won't cut. I don't think Sony would cut ties because they would have to go out of their way. Sony must have a really high level of confidence, frankly, in Death Stranding or just Kojima in general, where like, I'm starting to wonder if Sony doesn't care about the sales with Kojima as much because they announced a new partnership with Fizzin. That was announced in January of last year. And this was well prior to, Death Stranding being done and being announced, for release in June of this year. So it just tells me that, not just Herman Hulst, but Hideaki Nishino or Hiroki Totogi, whoever's in charge of really like greenlighting, and letting this happen, they're like, yeah, it's Kojima. Do it, get another contract. Because I think Sony might just view it as like, regardless of how Death Stranding 2 does critically or commercially, I think Sony is a little bit worried of how it would reflect their reputation and, their working relationship with big devs where, it's not going to be a good look at the end of the day if Kojima walks away from Sony. And we might not know the reason. Like, could it be that Kojima wanted to walk away from Sony? It's more likely that Sony wanted to cut ties. Like, if that were to happen, I just think it would be a bad look, because people are going to be like, oh, Sony lost Kojima and, they're on bad terms. And, somebody else like Microsoft or whoever else is going to want to swoop in and be like, we'll work with you, Kojima. And, the reality is whether you love Kojima or you hate Kojima, he has reached that status in in the games industry that has transcended the games industry and has now gone into the movie industry. And he's pretty famous, honestly, as a creative. And I think that these companies just look at it as a win to even just be associated with him. But there's no denying, and I feel like this is obvious, and it's not a slight towards Kojima, but you could just see it. Like he, I think he like can be difficult to work with in the sense that he he probably is not the best at like budgeting and stuff, and he wants to he does want to focus. I want to get the famous Hollywood actors in and stuff like that. And somebody mentioned his his kind of obsession with Hollywood and Hollywood actors. It is, yeah, I mean, it is disappointing to an extent to see that it seems like Kojima's full circle moment might actually come in the form of he's just going to stop making games and then maybe make movies before he retires, which would kind of make sense. But I don't know. I mean, to me, that's kind of what made Kojima so much of a pioneer in a sense. Where like you look at the original Metal Gear Solid, and what people were blown away by with that game is it didn't have famous Hollywood actors or anything, but it seemed like it was made by like a famous Hollywood director, right? It was like a game that had that kind of Hollywood-esque, like, man, this game's like a movie. Not like a movie in the sense where there isn't gameplay or anything, but just like it really did blend and meld the two things together in a way that, I think really just wasn't done before. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Metal Gear Solid changed my life as well, and it definitely shifted my perspective on what I thought video games could be. And obviously, we've seen companies like Sony really run with that, where like now you got games like The Last of Us, which are doing it even more so. And you could argue he was like the pioneer of that. So I think he kind of does have this past to just kind of do what he wants. And, some people may not like the way he goes about things, where he seems like he's what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word that people use that they call Kojima this. The word is eluding me. Not a diva. It's kind of like that. There's a different word that people usually use to describe him. But, I just kind of look at an auteur. That's a good word though, right? People call him pretentious, eccentric, an auteur, high maintenance. I don't know that I've seen people call well, he does seem kind of high maintenance, right? But I don't know, man. It's like I can't deny, like, for the things that I see people say about Kojima, where it's like he's this and he's that and he's that and he's this. I can't deny that. Like, if you were to ask me, like, how has his games affected your life? I can't deny that. Like, yeah, like the Metal Gear Solid games had the biggest impact for video games are to me like a crucial part of my life and a defining part of my life. Within that, the Metal Gear Solid games are at the very top. And when you ask the why, I mean, it's difficult to quantify that, right? But like, I think about the memories I have where like I saw like Sage Infinite. I think he mentioned like MGS1 changed his life. I mean, for me, it was Metal Gear Solid 2. I think because Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2 was the first Metal Gear I actually played, because when Metal Gear Solid 1 came out, I was too young and wasn't paying attention. When I played Metal Gear Solid 2 and I beat that game, and if you guys played MGS2, you know what happens at the end of that game. You know how crazy it gets. And, the ending monologue between Snake and Raiden, and then the credits and the music that plays at the credits. I just, it like it like woke up something inside of me that prior to that moment of beating that game, like I'd never felt that before. And that I remember that very distinctly. Like I will never forget how that made me feel. And I just was like I was alone too. That's the craziest part. I was like alone in my room. I'm like a 9-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid playing this game. And I don't know, like my mind was like people talk about being mind blown right? I feel like it's a rare thing, but in that moment, my mind was literally blown where I was just like, I was a changed person after that, man. And the same thing happened with MGS3 and even MGS4. But for me, it was MGS2 and 3. Maybe it was the age I was. I don't know when I experienced these games, but it's hard to quantify that. And I'm not giving Kojima alone all the credit because he wasn't the only one. It takes a team to make a game, right? Like he was, um, you know, he's considered the mastermind behind Metal Gear, but obviously it was the whole team that worked on it. And yeah, man, I just feel like I always got to give him that credit. Even pushed MBG to wear socks for hats. Exactly. That's a Kojima idea right there. Metal Gear Solid 2 was crazy, but the switch from Snake was pretty controversial. And you know what's interesting about that is like I was kind of lucky enough to not have to experience that because I won't lie, like I was a little bit surprised. And I remember like, whoa, hold on. I'm not playing this game as Snake. Because I knew about Snake and I knew about Metal Gear. But I never like really, by that point, I hadn't really played all through the entirety of MGS1. But I just remember like I had this extreme urge of like, I want to beat this game because the beginning parts that I played of it, I'm like, this is incredible. I need to beat this game immediately. And yeah, I was like kind of shocked. And then you see Pliskin show up and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. And I actually, it turned out like I ended up really loving the fact that Snake kind of plays the role of mentor in Metal Gear Solid 2. And it was interesting because it was like, I don't know, because that was my first time like beating an entire Metal Gear game and really like that was me getting into the Metal Gear series. I felt like, yeah, like I kind of was riding, right? Like I'm like this newcomer that's not, that's heard about Snake and I know about Snake. And it was really interesting. Like, the more I think about my experience with MGS2, it's like maybe the perfect time and place. And yeah, I'll never forget that game, man. It sounded like I just said I'll never forget that game, man. I will never forget that game, man. I'll never forget that gay man, Kojima. That gay man Raiden. Yeah, the demo, dude, it was so crazy. I love Metal Gear, dude. I love Metal Gear. And I'll never forget how like devastating. It's a shame I wasn't on YouTube when MGS5 came out or like the build up to MGS5. I see, this is where I wish I could go back in time. Like, dude, I was unhealthily obsessed with MGS5. And the truth is, ever since I beat Metal Gear Solid 2, I was like unhealthily obsessed with Metal Gear. Where like I was always, even pre-internet, like trying to find any information I could about the next Metal Gear game, and I remember like that just never changed. Even when I beat MGS4, I think I was like 14 or 15 at the time. And I remember like having this distinct feeling like he did it again. Like, and it's so funny to think about, but I remember thinking to myself like, holy shit, they actually did it again. And I was shocked by that because I was like, there's no way I'm going to feel just as good about like by the time I'm finished MGS4 as I did MGS2 and 3. And I did. And I was like, how is this possible? Like, I remember having this distinct thought to myself, and this is a crazy thought to have. And this is how you played a game so good or a game series so good it ruins other games for you, where I remember thinking to myself, why don't I feel this way after beating other games? That's when I knew, like, because other games just aren't as good, John. That's why. And yeah, man. And then so as I was like entering like full blown adulthood with the build up to MGS5, I want to put this out here. This is turning into a Metal Gear cast, bro. This is turning into like a Metal Gear stream, which is fine. I'm all for it. I just feel bad because it's not even in the title. Well, I guess it falls in line with still Death Stranding 2. I want to put this out here because I know that MGS5 is a bit more controversial for multiple reasons. Still a masterpiece. The first hour of MGS5 though might be the best first hour in gaming. Like, I don't know what Kojima was doing something with the first hour of that game where I'm like, I don't know what he was inspired by at the time. The horror elements, the cinematography of it, the uncertainty of like, wait, is this big boss or is this who's this guy? Who's this Ishmael guy? And you see Vulcan, and you're not sure what's real and what's not. I mean, escaping the hospital. The first hour of MGS5 is truly a hell of a thing. And obviously, the thing that disappointed me about MGS5 is you could tell Kojima took some of the criticism he got for MGS4 to heart, which is understandable because he did get a lot of criticism where people are like, bro, are you kidding me with these cutscenes and this dialogue? Like the amount of dialogue, the amount of cutscenes, the amount of codec calls. He definitely took that to heart because you could tell with MGS5, he wanted it to just play smoothly. Like no more really, really long cutscenes, and any dialogue that's happening, it's happening while you're playing the game, which is cool. And then obviously David Hayter didn't return as Snake. I never did play the NES Metal Gear games, I have to admit. I tried and I was like, I can't. I've watched like some playthroughs, and it's super interesting to me to see the original Metal Gear NES games because like to see where it started, like it's almost like the equivalent of when you find a band that you really love and they like become one of your favorite bands and you go back and listen to like their very first album or like even their like first EPs and stuff, and you're like, man, I definitely don't like this as much, but you can see like this was the beginning. Like they had to go through this to get to get to the point where it's going to reach its full potential, and you have like an inherent deep appreciation for that. But yeah, point is, I love Metal Gear Solid, and nothing can stop me from, by extension, loving Death Stranding. Because the truth is, Death Stranding, I heard this thing before. It's not. I guess it is like a saying, and I don't know if it is a saying. I don't know exactly how the saying goes, but the idea is like everybody has one thing, and like any great creator, any great artist, they kind of only have one. Like every great artist is basically a one-trick pony, no matter what. Not in like a bad way, but in that like the thing that they become known for will always be the thing that they're known for, and they will never be able to escape it because that is their peak. Like that is. I don't know if I'm describing it correctly, but it's kind of how like when you see what Kojima's doing with Death Stranding, and the reality is you walk away from Death Stranding and you realize like there's still so much here that's Metal Gear. There's still so it's kind of like Miyazaki, right? Like you look at Miyazaki, like the foundation of what a Souls game is, like he created a genre, the Souls genre with Demon Souls. And that's like, that is his thing. Like that's what he'll never get away. He'll never be able to do anything greater than that. And that's okay because I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that. You created a whole freaking genre, and everybody has like that one thing. And I feel like for Kojima, it's more than obvious that Metal Gear Solid for him is that one thing. That's like, this is truly like nobody else can replicate this. They could like, you could have, 1,000 different development teams try to replicate what you're doing here. They're not going to be able to. This is the one thing. It's a subgenre. Sorry, Ray. Sorry. You know what I meant. And so I feel like that is kind of proven in a sense where what is Kojima doing after Death Stranding 2? So you see Kojima, he's putting the, the bandana on with the character that looks like Snake in the trailer. He's got pretty much a Metal Gear Ray head on top of one, a giant BT at this point. And it like you could, it's just interesting because you can kind of see it bleeding through where it's like he can't help himself. Like he wants to make Metal Gear. He wants to make that type of game because that's what he does. That's what, it's like Miyazaki trying to make something that's not a Souls-like. It's like you can, but you're going to want to go back to making a Souls-like. Of course you are, because that's your one thing. And Fizzant is coming next after Death Stranding. What is Fizzant? Fizzant is the way I interpret it. It's a literal spirit. I mean, it is a spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid. I'm going back to making a tactical action espionage game, you know, and I mean, what do you think of when he says that? That it's going to marry, it's going to blur the lines between movies and video games. And it's like, what is that? What is that game? That game is Metal Gear Solid. That's what that is. But now we're going to see it reimagined in a way. And I'm like, this, it's just so cool, man. I can't wait. All this is to say, Kojima's a weird dude. Like, what's funny to me is the idea of like, we never did get to see how Silent Hills turned out, right? Like, what would a horror game from Kojima have turned out like? For all we know, halfway through it would have started turning into Metal Gear. For all we know, right? He had some good ideas of how to make a horror game, and then halfway through, it's like, why is this turning into Metal Gear? Because he can't help himself, man. Did he say that about the first game? I don't know. I didn't read the message. Anyway, the whole game is a hallucination from Psycho Mantis. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Eloy Casagrande is a master of the tambourine, but even he isn't Buddy Rich. I went there. Did Kojima give his blessing on Delta? Not that I'm aware of. I don't think so. I don't think he said anything about it. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he wants to. Does he need to? Well, one of the more interesting things is I know that there was like a panel that the developers who were working on Metal Gear Solid Delta did a while ago, and they did mention Kojima. And well, granted, the director of MGS Delta did work with Kojima, and he's been working on Metal Gear like this whole time. So it's he knows Kojima, and he was saying that like yeah, he would love to work with Kojima again one day. That would be great. And he said that while still working at Konami and talking about Metal Gear Delta. So I do get the sense that there is some kind of gap that they're trying to bridge a little bit, at least from the Konami side or from the development team of MGS3. But as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, we have not heard a single thing from Kojima about Metal Gear Solid Delta, and I would love to know what he thinks. I don't know. I'm sure he's going to be doing interviews soon about, or I guess he kind of already is. He's like doing panels right now, but I imagine there will be some interviews done with him regarding Death Stranding 2. And if I'm assuming, I guess, considering the question hasn't already been asked, he's like, the journalists who are asking questions are probably being informed, like, do not ask about Metal Gear. Don't ask about it. And I don't know if maybe that's like a Kojima thing, like he doesn't want to be asked about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. Luck says, nah, Kojima will never work for that scum again. I mean, see, I do wonder, though. Like, I do wonder if that's how Kojima, like, feels. If he, like, I don't know if, like, because he does, I think, a good job of kind of giving off the vibe of like he doesn't care anymore and he's moved on. And maybe he doesn't. Maybe he really doesn't give a shit. Maybe that's how it is at the end. He just doesn't care. But I don't know. The fact that we see him kind of doing very clear nods to Metal Gear in his new game's trailer, it tells me he does care. But I don't know. It's hard. I don't know how to interpret what we're seeing, right? Like, I don't know if I should interpret Kojima basically putting Solid Snake um, in his trailer with the bandana and everything. I don't know if I should interpret that as like he's trying to flex on Konami, like you can remake my game, but just remember who made it. It's Metal Gear's mine. I don't know if it's that or if it's more along the lines of like he's just doing it for fun and because like the thing about it is like he's helping Konami. You know what I mean? Like there's when people are thinking about Metal Gear Solid based off of a new trailer that Kojima put out for a game that's not Metal Gear Solid, that's ultimately going to help Metal Gear Solid Delta, a game that's coming out just a couple months later. But then again, Kojima made that game. He may not work for Konami. He's not getting any money from that, but he may still like. That's kind of the question I have. Like, does Kojima want people to go support this game, Metal Gear Delta? I really wonder because he did make that game. I don't know. Titus, you're saying I love the marathon 8-minute film. It was beautiful, deep, existential, interesting, but I have zero interest in the game. It's interesting you say that. I went to go check some of the comments on the video of that was uploaded, and yeah, it's again one of the more interesting comments I've been seeing somewhat frequently are people saying that this little like cinematic trailer for Marathon got me more interested in this universe than the game itself, and it kind of had people wishing that why aren't you guys doing something single player with this? Like it seems like it could be awesome, and yeah, man, I don't know. I think that's just the nature of chasing live service, where it's like I think these developers come up with really unique worlds and interesting concepts and things that, like you're saying here, can be described as deep, beautiful, existential. But then it's like, but it's a PvP extraction shooter, and it's like, oh, you can't help but wonder like what else it could be if there wasn't this intense desire to chase the live service dragon, right? But yeah, I've seen a lot of people expressing that sentiment, Titus, and I don't know if this means maybe they're going to take the feedback and maybe, I don't know, they'll talk to Sony. It's like, we should try to do something single player in this universe. I think that would be great. I mean, here's what's so interesting about that idea is like, you talk about Sony wanting to diversify their portfolio, including single player games, making different types of single player games. A single player shooter based in the universe of Marathon that we've just saw revealed would definitely be unique and very different from anything else we're getting from Sony from a single player perspective. So maybe they should try to like do that. I don't know. I don't know if they have the resources though. If I'm not mistaken, somebody confirm or deny this for me, because I know somebody knows in the chat right now. I heard that apparently Bungie confirmed that the actual narrative of this game is not written yet. That they're still in the process of writing it and it's not done. And the game is like, launching in like 5 or 6 months. And I saw people reacting to that being like, what the F? It is true? Okay. Yeah, I saw enough people talking about it that I was like, it must have been. Lux, you're saying Kojima has put nods to Zone of the Enders and Police Knots in his games. He does this, nothing to read into. He's in his 60s and has many games in development. No time for Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, that's true. I guess it's easier for me to overlook the nod because you're right. I remember when playing like Ground Zeroes, he had a ton of nods towards his other games. And I don't mean to like make it sound like those other games he made don't matter. They do, and I know he obviously feels a certain way about them, and there are players that like those games. I guess I just can't help but always wonder to myself, like, in a different timeline where things didn't go awry with Konami, like, would he still be making Metal Gear? Like, would he have the idea, like, would he want to remake the original 2 Metal Gear games to really close the gap fully? Because I remember when he was making MGS5, that was his big thing, is he wanted to close the gap, and have everything come full circle, like close the timeline. And I feel like remaking those two games would have really done that. And I don't know, I wonder these things, but I think you're kind of right, Lux. You know, it's like he does have many different games in development. He's talking about phase 2 of Kojima Productions, where it's talking about Fizzant, he's talking about doing anime, he's talking about making a movie. So it's like, in his mind, absolutely off to bigger and better things. But yeah, I just think that, you know, anytime people think about Metal Gear, though, like they're going to think Kojima. And I think anytime people see a new Kojima game, they're going to think Metal Gear. The big question for me, you know, considering the timeline we're in, is, man, just how similar is Fizzant going to be to Metal Gear? I mean, are we about to see Kojima reboot the Metal Gear Solid universe, and just the only thing that's being left behind is the names of the, you know, the IP and the characters? But is it going to be like pretty much like Metal Gear Solid 6, like a kind of, you know, just a complete Metal Gear reboot, just called Fizzant? Or I don't know if that's a working title. Maybe it'll be called something else. Or I don't know. Maybe it'll be maybe it will be a stealth action espionage game, but it will be dramatically different from Metal Gear. Like, I mean, just so vastly different that's like, oh, this is nothing like Metal Gear. That's what I'm really curious about, because I don't know, man. I really perked up when they had that announcement, and I mean, it was, you know, it was exciting to see, like, oh shit, Herman Holst and Kojima teaming up again, you know, making some kind of PlayStation Studios announcement. But I really perked up when they're like, oh, and he's going to be making another stealth game. Like, this is the genre that he pioneered, you know, and he's coming back to it, and we're using the latest technology. And I'm like, oh shit, like, dude, this fuck. Like, I remember thinking to myself, like, did they just fucking announce Metal Gear? Like, that's the thought. That's the feeling I had after that announcement. Like, I'm like, did Sony and Kojima just announce they're making another Metal Gear without Konami? And it feels like that's kind of what they're doing. And that to me is just a very, very, very fascinating prospect. It's like, still focused on Death Stranding 2, but I'm awaiting Fizzant. Lux, you're saying Konami killed any chance of another Kojima MGS, and anybody who buys their Delta version supports their treatment of him. F that soulless version. I mean, I respect it, Lux. Like I said, I can respect anybody who says I'm not buying Metal Gear because of what Konami did. I can respect it, but I can't. I'm not even going to pretend to put on some kind of front, I'm not even going to attempt to stand on principle, because I'm going to fold. Absolutely. Like, and so it's just not even worth wasting my time trying to do that. But to be fair, though, and I will say this, it does seem like Konami is trying somewhat to, I guess you could say, walk that line of like acknowledging kind of in a way that they did him dirty, but not fully like they can only take it so far, I guess, from like a business standpoint, or a marketing standpoint. But like, yeah, man, I don't know. I do remember that it was messy. It was really, really messy. The thing that I try to be understanding of, and I try to let other people know about this just in case they're not aware, is that the leadership that was responsible for the way they got rid of Kojima, and everything, and the cancellation of Silent Hills, and, you know, forcing MGS5 to close development, or finish development. The thing that's worth keeping in mind is that that leadership that was running Konami at the time is no longer there. Like, they've all been replaced. And I think that also explains a lot. Like, I think that explains why you're hearing the development team who's talking about remaking MGS3 openly talk about Kojima. Because I feel like, yeah, the Konami of 2014, 2015, 2016, I don't think they would be there anymore. And I think really I'm not sure what caused the leadership at that time at Konami to basically get replaced, but Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no way around it. They would have to mention it at some point. But I think what caused that leadership team to end up getting replaced is not necessarily even what they did to Kojima, but it's like afterwards they're like, we're gonna make Metal Gear Survive, and I think that's what pushed everything over the edge. Like, oh, you guys are morons, you know. And that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing to watch. Where it's like, you guys are Jesus. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, Metal Gear Survive was so weird. We MGS vets are likely to keenly observe where Kojima's directing skill is absent. Yeah, I saw that they did make it known that they're not, and this is good news because oh my god, like could you imagine the backlash? They're not censoring any aspect of MGS3, which if you played MGS3, I don't like spoil anything, but if you played MGS3, if you know, you know, and I think that explains some things about me. You know, like now I'm thinking about it, I'm like 10-year-old kid sitting there, hold L1, you know, and I'm like, okay, okay. This quiet, get naked. I don't. You're well. She was in MGS5. She never gets naked. I don't think. Can we talk about Jade Raymond and Fair Games? What do we want to talk about? MBG the locker. Whoa. Got to take it easy here, Ray. Guy's called Naked Snake. May as well be called Naked Gooner, am I right? Codename Naked Gooner. Good times, man. Lux with another super chat says Konami should make their own version, not just his version. That's why I see no point in playing it. They own the IP, so do something with it. Yeah, I mean, I want to see something new in the Metal Gear universe, but I'm also very concerned. Oh my god, you're right. Yeah. Talking about the really quick, Lux, hold on. Talking about the ending of MGS2, yeah. Also sitting there as a 10-year-old child, realizing I'm running around naked. I'm running around as a naked man that could pass for a woman, you know? Doing fucking no-handed cartwheels and shit, knocking people out, and I'm like, very confused. Kojima making me feel very confused as a 10-year-old boy. Like, what am I doing here? What is going on? I don't understand. But Lux, to get back to your super chat, I mean, I would love to see something new from Metal Gear, even without Kojima, just for the sake of like, I want to see Metal Gear Online. I feel like that's something that Konami could actually get away with without having Kojima's involvement. That would be okay. As long as they do it right. And I know that that's not like what a lot of people want, but I don't know, man. I feel like that would be a good place to start. Yeah. Pushing polygons. I was going to save that to talk about tomorrow. Oh, boss, hold on. Boss, come here. Come here. Thank you. What if your parents walked in during that scene? I'd have that I can explain moment. I can explain. And then I would not be able to explain. But yeah, I think Konami should try to do something maybe with hold on, boss. With Metal Gear Online. And Laughing Man 923 comes in out of nowhere, dropping a 10 bomb on you guys.
Holy shit.
Laughing Man, thank you so much. Yeah, you occasionally stop by and drop some membership gifts, and I very much appreciate that, man. That brings us up to 16 members on the day, 9 away from hitting the goal. Unknown says, reps tonight, baby. Reps, well, I don't know. I mean, we always save reps for 50. We saved the reps for 50. Maybe one day I'll switch it up and we'll do 25 reps. I don't know. My calves are sore. I was working out my calves the other day and they're very sore. But Laughing Man, I really appreciate that. Always appreciate the support you guys show. Yeah, anybody drop in super chats or member gifts or anything, boss, come on, man. Please. I don't need you flashing my audience. Don't, boss. Okay. Boss, that's fine. You can rub the camera. Don't bite the camera. But okay. Okay, boss. Yeah, I think he must see boss he's rubbing the camera right now. Don't bite it. I told you not to bite it. Oh my God. Don't look at me like that. He clearly believes that he has to do something to the camera. That's what he believes. He's like, I need to do something to the camera, and that's what will make the treats appear. That's funny. And Corey drops another 5-bomb for you guys, bringing us up to 21. Where's Hellbound, bro? Hellbound, where you at, man? Maybe he's not here today. Hellbound's usually one who dunks it to get it past the goal. But Corey, thank you for that, man. Yeah, we'll see if we can get it. We're 4 away from hitting the goal, and boss is clearly aware. Drop the price. Hanzo, you're trying to sing Snake Eater? You sung in your best voice? Did your voice crack like 7 times? Those are some pretty high notes to hit, man. Those are some pretty high notes to hit. Ow. Don't bite me. And Whiskey Gaming comes in. Whiskey Gaming is like, you know what? I got Hellbound's back, bro. And he drops the 5-bomb, bringing us up to 26. All right, boss. We can feed the beast. We can do it. It's time. Are you ready? You ready, boss? Time to feed? Don't bite my hand. Don't eat my hand. It's not time for that.
What the fuck is this world? What have they done to us?
Hey guys, it's Boss here again, Meow. I can't wait for the next stream, Meow, so we can hang out and eat snacks together. It's gonna be a good time. Meow.
And we'll do one more for good measure. Wait, hold on. Corey, this one's for you since we've been talking about it.
But that was some fancy shooting. You're pretty good.
Sometimes I forget I had that as a soundbite. Thank you guys so much for the little member train there, getting us up to 26 members on the day. I very much appreciate that. Sorry if I sound like a broken record. I just want to make sure you guys know. I really am thankful. Luke Stevens is talking about how Bungie still has a lot of stuff to incorporate in the marathon, and it comes out in just a couple of months. Yeah, that's the sentiment I've been hearing. And Chris, a member for 3 months, says, I'm here for the real star with a black cat emoji. Well, Luna is here. She's actually a full black cat, not a tuxedo cat. But she like never shows up on camera. When's the last time you guys saw Luna? Has it been a while? I think she just celebrated her first birthday 2 days ago. So she's 1 year now. And I feel like she's still got quite a bit of growing to do. Because she's definitely getting big. You saw her yesterday. Was she on camera yesterday? Was she on the cat tower? The creepy breathing in the background. Yeah, if you don't know the context of that scene with that soundbite, that breathing does sound very creepy. I didn't think about that. You saw her profile for a few seconds? Okay. Yeah, I mean, her and Boss are still not quite getting along. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like an alpha thing or something, but Luna, what I noticed with her, and I'm not sure if I mean, she might grow out of it. I know that when we had Leia, well, to be fair, I never got to see what Leia was like with other cats when she was 1 year because we got Leia first, and then like a year later we got Boss. When we got Leia though, she was 1 years old. Luna likes to basically try to beat up the other cats. She likes to try to beat up both Boss and Leia. And Leia is just like over her shit, where like Leia will just be sitting there doing nothing, and Luna will just come over and be like, and Leia will just smack her right back. And they'll get into like those little cat slap fights where they're like, like they're not actually hitting each other, but they're just kind of like, I don't know what they're doing exactly. I don't know if they're doing it for fun or if they're serious. I don't know if this is the equivalent of like, two guys, like two dudes trying to like basically outflex each other, like who's gonna scare who off. Do guys do that? I don't know. Like, is that what people are doing these days? They're just flexing at each other. But what I was gonna say is that Luna scares Boss. That's the point. Luna scares Boss, and I know this because he tries to act tough, like he doesn't care. But sometimes Luna will just like run around, and he does this thing where he floofs up, like he expands, and his tail like expands, and he looks like a skunk or whatever. And he only does that when he gets really scared. And anytime she's like, he doesn't know where she's at, and she like runs by or something, he does that. And sometimes she'll wait at like the steps near the basement, and Boss gets really upset because he just doesn't want to walk by her because he's afraid she's going to attack him. And so he'll just sit there like kind of doing that like high-pitched cat growl until she leaves. And yeah, I'm talking about you. Yeah, I know, right? It's so funny because Luna still is. I don't know if cats, and Lux, I'm going to read your super chat. I just want to say, I don't know if cats like know how big other cats are going to be when they're done growing, or if they have some kind of sense or whatever. But Luna is 1 year. She's 1 year old. She's still going to grow for like another year. And she's already basically close to the size of Boss. So I don't know if he knows that like she's going to be, just from a sheer size point of view, the alpha. And he's just very scared of that. He's trying to hold on. He's trying to maintain his dominance. All right. Enough about my cats. Lux, you're saying from gaming leaks and rumors, PlayStation Handheld is sounding like it'll be expensive and it'll be very hard on battery life. Wonder if it'll be OLED over LCD. I did see something about a handheld on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors website earlier today about a PlayStation handheld, but I didn't want to cover it just yet. Kind of in the hopes that, sometimes when stuff like that happens. Wait, hold on. The only leak I'm seeing has to do with Kepler saying that the portable PlayStation 6, that's what they're calling it right now, portable PlayStation 6, is a 15-watt SoC on 3 nanometer and will not be as powerful as the PS5, which, there's no way it was going to be as powerful as the PS5. But I'm not sure where you're seeing that. It's saying... So I'm assuming you're just saying, based off of what we're hearing, that it sounds like it's going to be expensive and hard on battery life. Well, I find it very interesting that Sony, seemingly with the build up to the PlayStation 6, like when they start actually formally talking about it and announcing it, they're going to have a handheld accompanying it, which it kind of does make sense when you figure like the PS5 at this point is basically marketed alongside or the PlayStation Portal, I should say, is basically marketed alongside the PS5. And that wasn't even a thing at the beginning of this generation. Now, when you see Sony do their advertisements for the PS5 and they show like that ending screen where it's the PS5 standing up, they show the Portal next to it most of the time. It seems like they're going to go all in, especially because of the Switch 2 now being capable of running, third-party games this might be Sony's answer to the Switch 2, you know, having a dedicated handheld that Mike, I mean, look, there's no it should be obvious to anybody who's even thinking about a next generation handheld from Sony that it's not going to be as powerful as the PS5. How could it be? We're just not there yet. The question is, can it run PS5 games though? It doesn't need to be as powerful as a PS5 to run PS5 games. Basically, it just needs to be as powerful as a PS4 because most games are cross-gen, but we really have to hone in on the games that are not cross-gen, that are current gen only, and how they would run on this handheld. How, you know, how far down would they have to scale to be able to properly run on that handheld? And, you know, you do talk about it being expensive. That to me is what's interesting. Here's my guess. My guess is that there's going to be the PlayStation 6. It's going to be the dedicated premium home console. That's the next generation upgrade from the PS5. There's going to be a new PlayStation handheld called the PlayStation Portable 2. I don't think they'll call it 2. They'll just call it the PlayStation Portable, right? And it's going to be an expensive handheld that's like $400 or something or more. And it will run games natively. You'll be able to play most of your PS5 library. You'll be able to stream PS6 games, and you'll be able to play probably all PS4 games. And then they're going to have the PlayStation Portal 2. And the PlayStation Portal 2, well, I don't know. Maybe they won't even call it 2. They'll just have maybe they'll have like an upgraded version of the Portal where it has like a better screen or something, but it'll be the same price. And that's also it's the lowest tier of handheld that they're going to offer, where if you don't want to have a dedicated handheld that runs games natively, you can just stream them, you know, like you can right now. You think it's going to be more than 400? Yeah, I guess it would be more. If it's capable of running most PS5 games, it'll be more than 400. What price point are we thinking? I mean, are we looking at something nuts where it's like the PS6 is $800, the handheld is $600, and then you just got like the Portal there where it's like still $200? Yeah, if I guess 400, it's just totally unrealistic. Bro, I love how Boss goes right to sleep. Like we were keeping him waiting from his nap. Sorry about that, Boss. With inflation, it'll be 800. Yeah, I mean, things are looking really spooky out here with not just inflation, but the tariffs and everything. And there's, you know, I don't know. The big question I have is if everything stays the course, if nothing changes, although things are likely to change, but assuming nothing changes, the big question I have is if Sony's going to be willing to delay next generation, basically, for like another year, something along those lines. Let me check something. Okay. Loco, you're saying shut up and take my money. I mean, the idea of Sony marketing a like a dedicated handheld as a companion device alongside the PlayStation 6 sounds pretty awesome. I mean, as an enthusiast, as a PlayStation enthusiast, I would definitely be excited for that. Lux, you're saying with the super chat here, at least $500 to $600, especially if it's OLED and has high storage. These things add up. That's why Nintendo always start with LCD screens and then an OLED. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear at this point that Sony wants to compete with the Switch 2 by having some kind of handheld offering. I think Sony realizes now that they have to offer something in the space. What's interesting is the fact that Sony's not going to do, and I think it's smart, they shouldn't do this. But rather than trying to be a direct competitor to Nintendo, they're going to basically offer an alternative, which is we're not going to have a hybrid console to give you, but we can offer multiple devices that if you're willing to buy them together, you get the best of both worlds essentially. And I guess that actually makes the most sense if you think about the direction that PlayStation has been going in for some time and the way the direction they're headed in. It does make sense that maybe for them they're like, rather than have to make some kind of compromise with a hybrid console, because nobody would expect that or even want that, I think, from the PlayStation 6, just offer options to where like it'll be expensive, but if you're willing to pay that price, you will get the best of both worlds, right? With no compromises. That's the idea. Yeah, the battery life though, that's going to be a big question mark, because if they are going to make this handheld as premium as it sounds like they're going to, yeah, that doesn't sound very appealing to me. I don't want to like have a handheld where if I'm going to use it, it's like you can get maybe like 2.5 hours out of this. Now, granted, realistically, I don't know that I would feel too bad about a lower battery life, just because even when I play games on my console where I don't have to worry about battery life, right? It's plugged into the wall. It's not that often that I sit there for like more than like 3 hours straight and play a game. I'm usually doing hour and a half, 2 hour intervals. And sometimes I do go longer than that. Or sometimes I just leave my console running and walk away for a bit. But I don't know. That's kind of what I'm envisioning in my head is you got the PlayStation 6, then you got the PlayStation 6 handheld, and then you have the PlayStation Portal 2. And these things together, or maybe they'll just call it I'm thinking of like naming conventions. What would they call the next PlayStation handheld? Like native handheld. What would they call it? Realistically, don't give me some silly name. Realistically, what would they call it? So you have the PlayStation 6 and then the blank launching alongside to it. Would they just call it the PS6 handheld? PS6 portable? No, they wouldn't call it that. We could see the PS6 sooner due to prices. What makes you think that? Okay. I was thinking the opposite. Lux, you're saying here with a super chat, the difference is Nintendo has games specifically for the Switch to help it sell. PlayStation handheld, as far as we know, is only playing PlayStation console games. Well, see, here's the idea. All right, actually scratch that. I didn't think about that. Well, I guess in my mind, I just assumed that, like, I don't know. I guess I just assumed that if the game can be played on PS5, I didn't consider that some type of work would have to go in. I don't know why I overlooked that. Some level of work would have to go into making, so like, okay, we're EA is releasing a new PS5 game. Says, I don't know. Like Star Wars Jedi Survivor 3, right? Let's just say that. It's going to release around the launch of the PlayStation 6. It's going to be cross-gen. It'll be on PS5 as well. Would a game like that be able to run on this native handheld? Presumably, yes, if it can run on the PS5. But then the question would be, well, see, I don't know, because that's the thing is like this handheld's not going to be as powerful as a PS5. So presumably they would have to scale this game down even further from what a base PS5 version is. The more I think about it, it's starting to sound like this handheld could end up being Sony's Series S. But yeah, like if it can run on Steam Deck, presumably it would be able to run. I know the Series S is like it's like a negative connotation, but it's because the idea that like Sony's gonna want. Oh, you're talking about exclusive games and the fact that the Switch has exclusive games. Okay, I thought you were talking about like third-party games. My bad. Yeah, I get where you're coming from as well with that, Lux. You know, is Sony gonna have? Okay, so like, let's go with my theory, right? Is Sony gonna have a Bloodborne remake as a launch exclusive for the PlayStation 6? But we also find out it can also run on the PlayStation 6 Portable. I I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Sony's gonna handle this, man. There's so many different directions they could go in. The Series S has a negative connotation because of the RAM pool. Perfect Image, you think that's how they're going to do it? Well, it's one option. I think that they the trouble is if the trouble is that if the next generation of console, I'm saying console because I'm going to be honest, I'm not really talking about Xbox right now. I'm mainly just focused on PlayStation. If the next generation PlayStation is going to be as expensive as people believe it is going to be, I'm not sure that exclusive games can overcome that hurdle. You know, like if Sony does have a Bloodborne remake ready to go at the launch of the PlayStation 6, and the PlayStation 6 is an $800 console, and Bloodborne is not cross-gen, like is that going to make people be like, yeah, I'm ready to drop $800 right now for this because it's my Bloodborne machine? I mean, there will be some people, but not many, I don't think. So I don't know. So Sony's in a weird spot, dude. Not in a, I don't want to say they're in a bad spot. I don't know if they're in a bad spot. They're just in a weird spot where it's like they have to make such, they have to plan out next generation while simultaneously like not really knowing how much any of this shit's going to cost. And that's, to me, that's a scary prospect. Lux, you're saying Sony needs to make games only available on it. I would agree with you if they want to get that aggressive with it. But I'm not convinced they'll do that just for the fact that they've already spent so much time not doing that and the price factor. Watch Grubb's video. PlayStation needs to extract more dollars from its customers. And the only thing they have this gen is GTA 6. So more price increases or a new console are the options to extract that dollar. Well, yeah, I'll talk about that in a moment. Lux, you're saying that's what Nintendo did with MK World, only on Switch 2. And they did, but this is where I feel like the conversation gets much tougher for Sony, where it's like, Sony, what do you have that's on that level? And I'm not talking from a subjective standpoint of like, well, Bloodborne's way better than Mario Kart World, or Mario Kart World's nothing compared to a new Uncharted. I'm not talking from a subjective level. I mean from an objective, like, Sony, what game do you have, or what game series do you have that has sold like 70 million units? And it's kind of laughable in a sense where it's like, I mean, you might be able to make an argument for like Gran Turismo, like collectively they've sold like 90 million or something like that. I think they passed 80 million, but that's collectively. Like, Nintendo is so comfortable doing what they're doing with Mario Kart World because the last Mario Kart game sold that many units alone, dude. Like, alone. And of course it was bundled in, but still, it's like Sony doesn't have anything. Hanzo, you're saying too much mental gymnastics. Everybody's going off of nothing. Yeah, but it's hard not to it's hard not to kind of like speculate in this way because we know Sony's in the process, you know? Oh. Yeah. Oh, geez. I just cut my fingernails. I don't think I'm going to be able to open this either. Wait. I got it. There you You're welcome. I mean, Hanzo, I get where you're coming from, man. From heresy, excuse me. I know you're not talking about me necessarily. It's tough, man, because I keep saying it's tough. Everything's tough. Sony will go with a Horizon game. In announcing Horizon 3, PlayStation 6 exclusive. I mean, I don't know though. Like, maybe I don't. I mean, I know we're like making jokes, but I would be excited. I don't hate Horizon. I'm just, it's not my favorite series, but I don't hate Horizon. And going back to what you said about Sony needing to extract more dollars from their customers. Well, this kind of, I think, highlights the fundamental difference in Sony's approach versus, say, Microsoft's approach, where obviously the end goal here from both Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo as well is extract more dollars from each customer, right? But that can actually be tweaked when you look at Microsoft's approach, where it's like extract more dollars through more customers, increase our customer pool, get more dollars. So that's one way. And I feel like what we're seeing right now, again, this kind of, I think, highlights the awkward position that Sony finds themselves in my opinion, that I've been talking to you guys about extensively, where Microsoft, rather than being in that awkward position, just decided they're not even going to allow themselves the opportunity to be in that position. And I think that does come with a cost. It costs $68 billion. But by buying Activision Blizzard, by buying Bethesda, and by effectively leaning into becoming a publisher rather than a traditional console manufacturer that's also a publisher, and doing things that more traditional way, they have made it so that they don't even have to worry about that at all. Like, they don't have to worry about deciding, like, are you going to try to get more money from your current customers, or are you just going to try to, how are you going to grow the brand from this point when you're struggling to even get enough money from your current customer pool? They just went full blown. We're shifting our business model, and the shift in the business model is to acquire more customers, even if we have to pay for it. If we have to pay for it, we'll pay for it. We'll make more money over a certain period of time that will, we'll make that money back, and then it'll be pure profit, right? It's just gonna it's a longer term play, and they're executing it right now, and it seems to be going okay for them, or well enough. When it comes to Sony, like, they don't really have that option. They do. There's PC. There's the Switch console, the Switch 1, and assuming the Switch 2 sells well. But you can automatically see why Sony is reluctant to take that path in an aggressive way, because it's just like, well, how do we will find more customers, but are we at risk of losing our current customers? And if some of those customers leave our own, the home that we built for them, we'll go with the analogy of building a home, right? How many of those people are going to leave that home to go to another? And that's where I'm saying, like, Microsoft, they pretty much, they tore their own house down, essentially, and decided, we're not going to try to get people to come to our home. We're not going to try to get them in the door. Instead, we're just going to make things that you bring into your home, that wherever you are. And that's the struggle that Sony finds themselves in, where it's like, the PS4 and especially the PS5 generation has been incredibly lucrative for Sony. Make no mistake. Like, they are making more money from the PlayStation brand than they ever have. But there is a truth that one of the only reasons they're making more money is not because the growth is like doubling, tripling, or quadrupling, but in some instances it is growing quite a bit. But it's mainly because they're finding ways to extract more money from the same customer pool. And that has worked for them. This is what I've tried to highlight to people, where it's like people, they do get upset about, the games going from 60 to 70. They do get upset about the idea of console prices not going down. And as we see now, like some prices going up. And it's understandable. Like we should get upset. Like nobody wants to see these things happen. But the question is, okay, is this going to stop people from engaging? Is this going to stop people from paying to access what it is they want to access and to upgrading to what they want to upgrade to? And they keep pushing it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And what they're finding, and what most other companies are finding, is that it's working. People are willing to pay. And that's why I said, like, not earlier, but like in a couple I said you can't really, and I'm not saying this as like a defense for the company, because it's not a defense, but it's just, if the company is pushing and pushing a little bit more, inch by inch, taking a little bit further, seeing how much money they can extract, and it's working, you can't really be angry with them for saying, well, we're just going to keep doing that until we can't. Because you have to understand that, like, the people who are making those decisions, their job is to literally do that. That's what they're being paid to do. That's what their salary is. Like, you need to keep finding ways to make more money for the business and for the brand. And if they're finding a way to do that, they're not going to read online comments and be like, oh man, did you see what this guy just said underneath our post? They said we're a joke. And it's like, they're not going to let that overrule the data that they're seeing, which is, but sir, we're making more money than ever off of this product. Like, people are buying it. You know what I mean? Like, so from a business, so basically what's going to have to happen here is and that's why I think watching the whole thing unfold with the Switch 2 with $80 games is very fascinating, because somebody's going to drop the straw that breaks the camel's back. That's going to happen. And it wasn't the PS5 Pro. It seemingly isn't Mario World being priced at $80. But at some point, as they keep trying to extract more and more money from the same customer base, somebody's going to overstep that. They're going to find out, like, this is where the limit is. You fucked around and you found out. I do wonder if that will be Sony. But you have to ask yourself, well, how come Sony isn't doing it the way Microsoft is, where they're just trying to expand more horizontally rather than vertically, right? They're trying to gain a whole new customer pool. Well, it's like I said, Sony's greatest strength is they created a nice home for themselves, right? And they want people to come in, get comfortable, and this is where they live now. I'm, of course, talking about the PlayStation ecosystem. Anything they do outside of that is at risk of, eroding or diminishing the value that people perceive in that ecosystem. And so this is why Sony is not going day and date with all of their games on PC. This is why Sony has not said anything seemingly about putting any more games on the Switch 2 yet. And they seem hesitant in doing that, or the Switch 1 for that matter. This is why they're not putting any games. They're not daring to put any games outside of Marathon on Xbox, because they understand that once you cross that line, the messaging gets muddy, and you create a perception of you don't actually need to be here. And that, as we saw with Xbox, can be devastating. Once you cross that line of people now believe they don't need to be here, it's very hard to recover from that. And it's a slippery slope. And and again, Microsoft is the example that we saw it happen in real time, where once they woke up and realized, like, we're not winning people back, dude. Well, then what's the next option? We got to go publisher mode. And it's, that's a viable option, but obviously you look at what Sony built, they don't want that. For them, that has to be a a last option, a last resort, something that they only do if, I mean, it's truly the only other option, right? We have a couple super chats here. Lux says Sony needs to charge us more. Hashtag be like Apple. No, I see. That's where like I don't want it to turn into that either. Like I understand that things. See, it's really hard, like I said, to have the conversation about pricing right now because things are happening from a like governmental level, at least in the US, and obviously it's having a ripple effect across the whole planet with every economy. Things are happening where who knows what's going to happen? Like no, like who knows what the outcome's going to be? You know, just the other day I saw meltdowns because the reciprocal tariffs are in effect, and then suddenly, actually, they're paused for 90 days. Oh wait, but China's still getting tariffed 125%. Oh, and then everybody else is still getting tariffed 10%. Oh, and now China announced that they're going to be ceasing, like that, you know, rare earth minerals or whatever. They're not going to allow that to be sent to America or to certain manufacturers that are making stuff for America. And like that's a whole nother can of worms where it's like, so what does that mean? It means like pretty much you're talking about things that are used to build semiconductors, which are in basically everything. You're talking about things that are, you know, it's crazy. And so it's like, by the way, that's literally the plot line of Call of Duty Black Ops 2, by the way. Like that's literally the plot line. The point is that this shit is changing on a near daily basis and escalating on a daily basis where don't be surprised if at the end of the day, the result is every company starts to become like Apple because they have no choice. Because it turns out that like, holy shit, we literally cannot afford to sell anything at this price point that we did for so long. At the rate things are going, that is a real possibility where every company is going to have no choice but to start being like Apple, even Microsoft. Because even though Microsoft has, I would say, less skin in the game now that they're seemingly exiting the console market, they're still a major publisher that needs to make good money. And so, you know, Game Pass and stuff like that could be their saving grace ultimately. But what I'm talking about here is something that seemingly is going to affect every industry practically and everyone. So I'm not sure, you know, I don't know what to say anymore, I guess, about pricing, where it's like I'm watching Sony increase the price of the PS5 and it has nothing to do with the tariffs. You know, it's just I guess where I ultimately find myself standing, for better or for worse, but it's just truthful, is that I'm sitting here being like, you know what, man, looking at the way things are going, I'm just buckling up and saying if I want to continue to partake in video games in the way that I've grown accustomed to partaking in them, right? It's going to get a lot more expensive and I'm going to have to be prepared for, hey, you want to play this game? It's going to cost a lot more than it used to. You want to buy this piece of hardware? It's going to cost a lot more than it used to. And I don't know what long-term effect that will have on me, where maybe I will eventually decide, you know what? I'm not going to, like, who knows, dude? We could get to a point where even though I am a YouTuber and I have every justification in the world, I guess, to upgrade to $1,000 PS6, I'm going to be like, no, dude, I got a Pro and I'm good for now. Because it's just that ridiculous. It's like literally like, yeah, it's $1,000. It's like, I'll wait. I'll wait. You're saying, of course, it has to do with the tariffs. They said the backdrop of a challenging economic environment, including high inflation and fluctuating exchange rates. That's tariff talk. Well, I guess what I just mean is that like the bigger implications of the most negative outcome, I guess you could say, regarding the tariffs has yet to actually happen. So you could, I guess you could file it under they're just preparing for the worst, which would make sense. And that's actually exactly what I'm talking about, dude. Like I'm basically talking about it's starting to look like, and see, you at some point, and Wabu dude, I'm sorry, I'm going to read your super chat. I just want to make sure to get my point across before I let it slip. At some point you have to start to ask yourself, like, when should we be concerned about how bad, like, I'm trying to think about how to word this. The video game industry is essentially a reflection of the world economy. At what point do we really say, oh, holy shit? And it really is starting to feel like we are approaching that point. If not, we are already at that point for some people where this is the holy shit moment. Like, oh, this is bad. Like, nobody actually knows what they're doing now. Where it's just companies are like, okay, we have to increase the price. It's just what's going to happen. And we're just going to have to hope that you guys are on board with it. And then the consumer is all like, everybody's just going to have to kind of turn and look at themselves. Like, are we gonna, like, are we boycotting? Are we on board with this? Are we all just going to accept that people are going to get priced out and filtered out? Or do we all collectively make a stand? If everybody collectively makes a stand, what does that mean? Like, if everybody collectively made a stand and stopped giving these companies money, what happens to the company? And they turn around and say, okay, we actually will give you a lower price. And then can they operate at that lower price threshold? What if they can't and they end up going out of business anyway? You know what I mean? It's like there's a whole that it's too much to try to predict. It really is. And so I'm just kind of going with my gut feeling, which is, if a company is nervous and a company is feeling like, a business is feeling like these are completely uncertain economic times and nobody knows what's going to happen, what do? You prepare for the worst. In this case, what does that look like? It means just be prepared to have to rely on those who can afford your products. You know? It's crazy times, man. It is. Wabu dude, you're saying, hey, MBG, not sure if I'm late on this, but did you catch that Paris Lily mentioned he's been playing Marathon since 2023 and that it's going to be priced at $40? No, I didn't catch that. I'm not surprised to hear either of those things, though, because I know that Marathon has been in development for like 6+ years. And we've heard rumblings that different content creators have been able to play test this game like pretty much at random intervals in the last 6 years. Which, yeah, from what I heard, apparently Marathon earlier renditions of it were very rough and not coming together very well. The $40 price point, not surprised at all. I mean, it seems obvious to me that for now, that's the price point that Sony has settled on for their live service games. Will Marathon do well at $40? I don't know. I mean, Destiny 2 is a free-to-play game. It's been a free-to-play game for a while. But Wabu, dude, I appreciate you letting me know. Lux, you're saying won't be a marathon to its downfall. It'll be a sprint, $40. Damn. I see what you did there. And you're saying at least we filter out all the brokies with tariffs. Well, I mean, dude, the problem is, like, a lot more people are going to become broke, right? And it's there's a lot of people out there already struggling as is. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to, like, avoid talking about it too much, just because it's like it doesn't, like, there no amount of me talk, and I guess it's the same thing with how much I talk about the PlayStation 6, but it doesn't really matter how much I talk about tariffs or, you know, the world economy. Like, things, like, I don't have any control over it, and neither do any of us. You know, we just have to kind of, I think I said this in my video that I put out today, like, we just got to keep flowing along with it, because that's all we can do. You know, like, you can go against the tide if you want, but you're still moving forward. You're still going with that flow. You're just burning a lot of energy and getting nowhere, you know? So you're saying hashtag Trump for Gamers 2025. Bro, you know what's crazy is like in my video today, I also reported on this, and I'm not trying to turn it. There's no reason to turn it into a political conversation. Everybody can have their opinion as they see fit, but like it was crazy that yesterday I had people telling me in like super chats and stuff, and I did miss this. They were like, "Bro, electronics are going to be exempt from the tariffs," and it turns out that I think it was this morning, Push Square had to update their article and be like, actually, no, Trump did clarify this, and he said no, like they're all getting tariffed, smartphones, everything. They're just as I think you said, they're in a different bucket. They're in a different tariff bucket, and I'm like, oh shit, dude, like this is 1 billion Game Pass subs. Well, I don't think Lux is being bullshit, honestly. I think that a lot of people, I think a lot of people, I think, misunderstand if you want to make America great again, what that requires. And I'm not saying that in an offensive way. I just mean literally. I think people don't quite understand the depth of like, if you want to make America great again, you're gonna have you're talking about having to unwind, and undo 40 years of relationships with foreign entities, with foreign superpowers like China, which is like, yeah, it's understandable why anybody hearing that is gonna be like, whoa, what? Like, how are you going to do that? And it's like, yeah, there is no easy way. It's a very complex, like the geopolitical side of all this. It's very complex, and there is no easy or simple answer. And that's the problem. It's that people, I think, are beginning to wake up and realize that it's either we just keep doing things the way we've been doing it, and understandably, people are going to have this idea that, well, maybe we can make it work. We can find different compromises, and we can find different ways to make it work. To a degree, that's true. But what do you think we've been doing for the past 40 years? And why do you think, again, to a degree, America, like we're like $36 trillion in debt, or 37, and it's just growing. It's like America is kind of at the mercy of China, and I've been seeing this talk about like we need to decouple from China, and it's like, yeah, I mean, like you can kind of see why that would be necessary. Like we gotta be self-reliant. China, they're liars, and they're thieves, and they manipulate and whatever. And it's like, okay, what's our alternative? And the alternative is like, well, we got to do shit ourselves. It's like, okay, well, do we have the capacity to do that? Well, not yet. Okay, how long is it going to take? Years, decades. Again, it's once we decided to outsource so much of the work, so many of the jobs that are done in other countries and other places, and we rely on those products. Like it's a complicated thing, man. And I think look, my, and I'm not the most well versed in this stuff, but I've been trying to pay some attention. And my takeaway from this, and Josh, I will read your direct donations. Don't worry. My takeaway from this is that I don't think anybody actually knows what to do. I think what we're witnessing right now are people desperately trying to find the best path to a solution with the least amount of friction. And I think there's also in that groups of people who are okay with the idea of, well, when something becomes this fucked up, there's got to be friction. There's going to be friction. There's no way around it. Titus, you're saying plenty of people know exactly what to do. You think so? I mean, if that were true though, like, then wouldn't those people be the ones in elite? Well, you know what? Maybe you are correct, Titus, because I often find myself thinking, like, how many people do actually know and have a very good idea and are like way more qualified, but unfortunately we just don't know about them. I mean, that's a thought I have, where like those people are out there. They just are not, they're not part of the, they're not in the political sphere, and like they're unknowns and they have no interest. I don't know, man. The reality is gaming is way down the list of priorities for most people and eliminated first. Hence why these platforms need to squeeze every single drop from those who stick around. Yeah, and I thought about that too, right? Like, I think a reality we're potentially looking at is a lot of people are going to be faced with no other choice but to basically say, I guess I can't play games anymore. Or maybe like I can't keep up with gaming anymore. Like I can't buy video games. I can't keep up with, like walking away from the hobby or becoming like a retro gamer, or just becoming a very passive gamer or super casual. And that's, I mean, people talk about the idea of a collapse coming for the industry. And I don't think a full-blown collapse could ever happen. Like, not in the way that we saw in like the 80s. I don't think that could happen, because the gaming industry is just way too big. But I think what would happen is the great shrinkage. Like, I think you're going to see the gaming industry basically get fucking leveled. And I guess that sounds like a collapse, but like in the sense that there will still be platforms, there will still be players, there will still be buyers, but it's become, let me simplify what I'm trying to say. Gaming is about to become potentially much more niche as a whole, like AAA gaming, like higher end gaming, the type of gaming that a lot of us, I think, kind of have engaged with for many, many years. I think that might become much more niche. And that will likely be due to the cost. And it turns out that mobile gaming was meant to take over. Sad times. Lux says, "Keep crying, Brandon." Oh my God. Okay, come on, chill out. I don't want to see no. I mean, look, man. Like the only other option was Kamala Harris, and I'm not trying to make this a Republican Democrat thing, but it's like, she didn't give me any confidence either, bro. Like, I listened to some of the stuff she said, and I'm like, I don't think you know. Like, I would just listen to her. I'm like, I don't think you know what the fuck you're talking about. She seemed clueless. She seemed like a deer in headlights, bro. I'm just saying, it's like I'm not trying to offend anybody. Like, it's not about that. Like, I'm not trying to place blame on people. I'm just saying, it's like, the truth is, I think, like, the United States as a country, we just find ourselves in a bit of a bind, and maybe a little bit more than that. And it's not really your fault or my fault or probably your neighbor's fault. I think it's the fault of just many, many leaders over a long period of time that they've just made a string of decisions that's like, somehow, some way, like, this is where we ended up. So, considering we are a democracy, we could maybe point the finger at ourselves, but you're also talking about different generations. Do we blame our parents? Do we blame our grandparents? Do we blame today's generation? It's like, I think everybody just, they want to find somebody to blame. But I think the harsh truth is that right now, there is nobody to blame because whoever is actually at fault for this they've disappeared. They're gone. There's nobody here that's going to be able to take accountability for anything. And I think that sucks. I'm just speaking from a more real point of view where it's like there's something inherently human, unfortunately, about that. But yeah, I just, at the end of the day, man, I just, I struggle between having this more optimistic view of what's going to happen versus a very doomer view of what's going to happen. And I just kind of try my best to lean more towards, well, maybe it won't be as bad as people think. Maybe we'll be able to, maybe the outcome won't be as bad as I think some people are expecting it to be. And, that could be good, right? At least I would hope that's good. Bernie would breakdance his way to the White House. Isn't he like 80 or something? All right, Josh, I'm going to read your direct donations, but Josh Z says we are fickle, stupid beings with poor memory and a great gift for self-destruction. Josh, something tells me you're in a very good mood today. No, I mean, I know that's like a he'll breakdance his way to a heart attack, more likely. Trump's old too, actually. Yeah. Sometimes I forget how old Trump is as well. But all right. Josh, I am sorry to keep you waiting with your direct donations, man. You've waited long enough. I appreciate the support, bud. Let me read what you're saying here. So we got 3 super chats in we have 1 where he says either we are getting an underpowered PlayStation 6 in 2028 for $1,000+, or we're getting a worthy PS6 with substantial upgrades in 2030 for a reasonable amount of money. I mean, realistically, that sounds like the only 2 directions we could go in. The big question is where we are in 2030, bro. Like, considering how volatile things are right now, I feel like it's insane to even try to imagine where things are in 2030. But that to me sounds like the better outcome. I'd rather have that. I'd rather wait till 2030 to have a very good PS6 with a reasonable price point, but I don't know. Lux, you're saying China's number 1, Trump will bend the knee, tariffs gone. I'm worried. I'm very worried about, because I was talking to Mrs. MBG about this yesterday, where I was like, bro, we are seeing a standoff between China and America and the whole world is watching. And there are basically 3 outcomes. Either China takes the knee, America takes the knee, or neither of them take the knee and remain stubborn, and the whole world is basically thrown into turmoil, because of that. And I'll be honest, man, like when I think about it's scary because you have 2 leaders who are very much like neither of them are going to bend the knee, I don't think. I mean, you're saying Trump will. I don't know. I mean, do we think he will? Because you have to understand, like, my view of this is that if Trump is like, okay, you know what, fuck China, they're not. We applied as much pressure as we realistically could, and they're not budging. They're like willing to go down, but it's going to take time, and we don't have that time. We don't have the time to wait, right? Then that means Trump's going to have to bend the knee. Basically, America's going to have to bend the knee for the whole world to see. And Trump, initiating these tariffs and kind of starting this trade war in an effort to try to take on China. I mean, there's no way around that, man. Like that's gonna be a bad look. And I was talking about that too, man. I was like worried. I'm like, could this escalate to World War III? Like, is it more likely that we're gonna try to there's gonna be a war breaking out between America and China before somebody bends the knee. And I'm like, that's going to be, I mean, that's quite literally, and I'm not kidding. That is the Black Ops 2 timeline right there. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? So, I can't find the synopsis for some reason, but basically, here we go. What is Call of Duty Black Ops 2's campaign about? Call of Duty Black Ops 2 story is set in the year 2025. There's a cyber attack on China's stock market. As a result, China bans rare earth exports, leading to a second Cold War with the US. Like, that's literally what's happening. Titus, you're saying China will be America in 10 years equals Trump? No, dude. I hope not. I mean, if not this, war between the two is inevitable. Countries are not tariffed. The importers of goods are. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, the tariffs are passed on to the consumer, no matter where it's happening. Tariffs ultimately equate to a tax, like anything that you're going to buy that's imported or, whatever, or is being, or anything that's going to be exported, it's going to be taxed. Ultimately, like that's how you're going to feel it. There are companies that can try to do things to mitigate that, but realistically, like that's how it's going to end up. And that's the big problem here is like when people are in a situation where it's like, well, I don't really, if you're somebody who's already not in a great financial position and then suddenly it's like all the things that you were buying, are now even more expensive and you're left with even less money to spend on extra things or none at all, then you're going to see a lot of people that they like. It's kind of like what I said about people having to walk away from video games because they literally don't have the money for it anymore. There's always like this idea of like, oh, the brokies, but like, no, literally, like there's going to be people where it's like, it's not even a matter of being broke. It's just like, I don't have any extra money to buy an $80 game. And at that point, the gaming industry's hands are tied. I mean, you could argue that that's where something like Game Pass, if it stays the price it is, or even PlayStation Plus Extra, like maybe that's when it's their time to shine. But I don't know, man. Like if people are in a position where it's like the difference between buying an $80 game versus not is the difference between making or breaking your living situation, chances are gaming is not going to be something you're really thinking about that much. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. It's a very, very complex situation. And again, nobody really knows the outcome. I do think that at the end of the day, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think that's such a true statement. I think at the end of the day, most people, no matter how aggressive they may come off, I think they just are trying to do what they believe is best, what they believe is right, and they don't, not everybody, like I'm not speaking for everybody, but I just think the majority of people. But I just think that, that's the nature of life, man. And the nature of being a human being is that sometimes it doesn't matter how good your intentions are. Shit just doesn't work out the way you thought. Plans don't go the way you thought they would. And sometimes the outcome is actually something quite horrible. I think we all have firsthand experience with that. We used to have dollar menus. Taco Bell used to be cheap food. This didn't just start now. No, I mean, we have to question the decadence, right? Did America become too decadent? Did we get lost in that somewhere along the way? Carl says, try to look after yourself and your family, and if you can help other people. Yeah, I mean, there's also I'm not trying to like get too dark here, but it's just, there is the concern that if things become bad enough, like, do crime rates start to spike? Do people Um, do people? How desperate do people start getting? You know, I mean, these are the kind of ripple effects that stuff like this can have. You know, when the wheels start turning. World needs a reset. Bring it on. That's what you're saying, Lux. I mean, there needs to be some kind of reset, seemingly, but you know, can that reset be achieved in a more diplomatic way? You would hope so, right? But it's like, if history's anything to go off of, the answer is just a flat out no. Because there's been many resets. Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument that any reset that's occurred that's been low key maybe isn't really paid much attention to because it's not as exciting. So I don't say it's like never happened, but it's just generally speaking, it's like, yeah, dude, that reset, it's like it's gonna have to be some kind of bang, and it sucks. I don't know why. I don't know why it's got to be like that. I don't know if that's just like a rule of the universe, a law of the universe. I don't know. I mean, we could get very deep here talking about it, but what's going on with member content? Did I miss an announcement or something? Well, I didn't really make an announcement about it, but for now, I had to refocus my prioritization of regular content. And my hope is that people are understanding of that. It's not that there won't be member content. It's just that member content's gonna be further and few in between, and it's gonna be more of like a thank you and just a kind of like bonus thing I'm doing. I'll be honest, I thought I could kind of take on this. I thought I bit off more than I can chew. That's basically what it boils down to. I found that I wasn't able to produce the content that I want to produce in the way that I want to produce it as effectively as I otherwise would be able to. So in place of that, though, I am taking on different things behind the scenes that I've talked about a little bit, but I am taking on different things that should make themselves known in the coming weeks and hopefully beyond that in the future. So it's not that there will still be members content. It's just going to be more occasional and more of like a thank you type thing, rather than trying to make it. I'm not trying to split the channel into like two different channels where it's like we got the member channel and then the non-member channel. Another reason for this is because it seems to have kind of stunted the growth a little bit, where putting so much time and energy into members content has seemingly worked against growing the channel. And obviously I have to continue to focus on that as well, where I got to make sure that we're growing the channel as best we can. And generally speaking, and I've kind of gauged my audience on this, everybody seems to kind of be in agreement, generally speaking, that they want what's best for the channel and they want to see the channel. They want to see the channel be able to maximize its potential. And so basically that's what I'm channeling my energy towards. Basically, MVG is adopting the new gaming industry philosophy. Those checks must have cleared. No. I wish it was like that. I mean, that'd be easier, right? Like if it was a matter of the checks cleared, we're all good. No, I'm not getting paid for anything in that way. I mean, that would be fantastic. Hey, Sony, you wanna pay me to advertise Days Gone on my channel? I'd love to do it, but no, it's not like that. It's just more like I'm trying to, and I may fail. I'm going multiplat. Luna, Leia, are you serious? Okay. I'm going multiplat, Gavin. That's what it is. No, it's more like I'm just trying to I'm trying to create hopefully opportunities that and I have to use the word if because I don't know how it's going to play out and I don't know how I'm going to handle it exactly. But if it works out the way I'm hoping, it could lead to some different doors being opened and some new growth on the channel and a different perception to the channel in some cases. Yeah, I know. The Spotify thing. I keep saying I'm gonna I mean I do look into it and then I'm like, okay, I'll do more tomorrow and then I never do. So that's definitely on me. But I'm trying to take it slow. I'm trying to respect the fact that like I know my limitations. And anytime I've anytime I've downplayed or ignored my own limitations and don't respect them, I always overextend my reach and it snaps back on me. That's happened every time. So I'm trying to be aware of my limitations and respect that while simultaneously understanding that, like, I want to, I look at it like scared of change, to a degree, I guess. I don't know if scared is the right word, just more like I'm stubborn to it. I mean, maybe fear is at the root of that. Maybe I got to go get psychoanalyzed. But I look at it more like bodybuilding or weight training, where it's like, when you're ready to move up in weight, you usually don't jump up. You don't add just another 50 pounds to the bar. I mean, sometimes, depending on the exercise, you can, but generally speaking, you go a little bit slower. You add another 10 pounds, then over time, another 15, another 20. Progressive overload is what it's called. I'm basically taking the progressive overload approach to my channel. It served me well with training all these years. So I've taken the opposite approach many times where rather than progressively overloading, I just try to go all in at once and it never works, man. It always ends up burning me. So, I don't want to overhype anything or oversell anything. The big thing that I always want to kind of maintain or try to maintain is, like, for those who are here and supporting the most important thing I can convey is that I want you to support based just solely off of you're enjoying what we're doing here, whether that be the daily news videos, whether that be the daily streams and discussions or the reactions, and anything that goes beyond that is just something extra that can also be appreciated, but then eventually over time can be something more than extra and something that just, again, becomes almost like a foundational core of what makes up the channel. So, slow and steady, I guess. I might want to look at it as a business and not a workout session. Blasphemy. Blasphemy. Absolutely not. Everything I've approached in my life, I've approached like it's a workout session, and it hasn't failed me yet. Now, it definitely has its shortcomings. Like, the biggest thing I would say in approaching my channel as a workout or as like bodybuilding rather than pure business is that I've definitely limited myself in some ways. But, I am who I am. I'm not, who knows? Who knows, man? I don't know. I don't. I'm still on a journey of self-actualization. So, you think I'm on the right track? Well, I appreciate that. There's no doubt that things can improve. You know, you think I seem stilted and unhappy when I do the news? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I won't lie to you. Well, I don't need to. Not that I would lie to you. I mean, I guess I don't want to lie to myself. Like, I definitely sense that in the news videos, you can see a difference. Not just it's not that it's not even like the differences from me alone, where like I seem different versus I'm less casual. When there's good news for PlayStation, they're like just straight up like everything on my channel does better. You know, that's just how it's been this whole time. When there's bad news, it doesn't do as well. Like my video today, the title was PS5 price increase announced, and it's like I don't know that I had expectations for that video, but I imagine like I just assume like there's no way this is gonna go well because nobody's excited to click on that video. Like, if anything, people are either fear driven or annoyed. Like, I got to know what this bullshit is. Or they already heard about it and they're like, whatever, like I don't need to hear about it again. And that's why I am, I am trying to like, I know I've talked about it a couple times, but I'm playing a game right now that I am super deep into, and I would love, without giving anything away, like, I would be talking very extensively right now about it if I was able to. I'm not able to yet. When I am able to, I will. But this is part of the beginning of, like, I want to start transforming the conversations where we're always going to be talking about the platform. We're always going to be talking about what's going on with PlayStation, what's going on with Xbox, what's going on with Nintendo, what's going on with some third party publishers and stuff. We're always going to talk about that. But I'm going to make it, I'm in the process of making an extremely concerted effort. I want to have more discussions about the playing of games. And that's something that's like the biggest thing out of everything that I've tried to identify. By far, I think that's the biggest thing that's been lacking on my channel for too long. Too long. I have talked, like, I'm not trying to be too hard on myself. Like, I've had extensive conversations about Silent Hill remake, and that was what, in like January when I platinumed it. I talked about Terminator Resistance recently, but I mean, it's just I want to dive deeper into these discussions, and I realize that I have to. I know it sounds funny, but like, I kind of have. I feel like I've gotten almost not afraid. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, I feel like I've lost the ability to properly describe uh, how I am engaging with video games. And I know that sounds so weird, but I don't know if that's just the result of streaming too much. But that's what I'm working towards right now. No, I'm not playing Mind's Eye. That'd be cool. I am looking forward to that game. We just spent the last couple of hours discussing the economic hardships in the world and the value of value. Might not want to forget that when asking the support about subtracting value and features broadly. I know, I understand that, and I'm not trying to. That's why I'm not trying to like push anything on anybody. I don't want you to feel like you have to pay money to be part of the community or to enjoy the content. Um, you don't have to. That's kind of the beauty of YouTube. You don't have to pay a dime. You can watch all my videos, you can watch all my streams, you can consume all the content for totally free. It's just that I do try to make it a point that, I do this for a living, and I do rely on it. And if you are able to, and it's if it doesn't, like, if you're in a position where sparing a little bit of money to donate to the channel, whether it be to engage in a super chat or to drop a member or whatever, if that's something that's within your means and isn't going to hurt you, and you're happy to do it, yeah, like, obviously I want to encourage that because it very much helps me, and it does literally allow me to do what I do here. And that's where, I always try to emphasize the point that I am able to do this because you guys make it happen. I very much prefer to be fan funded. It's a little bit more razor's edge. I understand that. It's more volatile in the sense that I can't predict whether people are going to support or not. I can't control that, but it is much more preferable, I would say, than having to be at the mercy of like something else out there. Like, I have, like I said, I've had offers many times before, and again, maybe from a business perspective, I'm foolish for not taking sponsorships or seeking them out more aggressively or at all. But it's because it's really a tough thing for me where it's like, I've yet to encounter a product where they're like, "Do you want to advertise this?" Where I'm like, "Hell yeah!" Like, I whatever that is, like, I love that. Like, no, I there was one time with a video game actually, that I was actually interested in playing, and so that worked out. But that was about it. So it's not, I'd much rather it be this way where it's like, the people that are enjoying the content and enjoying what we're doing here, um, collectively making it so that we can just keep it going. And yeah, so yeah. I'm sure it is, dude. I know. I don't know. I would like to. Yeah, I need to be psychoanalyzed for that. Something's up. So what you're saying is if I was a gray name, I would still be welcome. What does that mean? Dark Cloud, can you elaborate? I don't understand. Why don't I do a sponsor stream of a new Metal Gear game? Well, I mean, like that's see something like that is like I would absolutely do that, but I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know where to be like to make something like that happen. I don't know that that's something I know how to go out of my way to request. You know, Dark Cloud. So wait, so you're saying that what I'm saying is if you're a non-paying viewer, you're still welcome. Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously, I want to express my thanks for people who are paying money on the channel. Like, absolutely. Like, I mean, I definitely want to let them know, like, you guys are very valued here. You know, like, I can't really, I don't know how much clearer I can make it. Like, that's the difference between everything for me. Right. And it means a hell of a lot. Um, but you know, I don't want to make it seem like if you're not like if you're somebody who like really like I've gotten messages plenty of times from people before where they're like, you know, they can't really afford it, you know, but they still really appreciate and value what I do here, and I try to make it known as best I can. Like, I'm glad. I'm that's the whole point. Like, there's no denying that viewership is important too, you know, and without viewership, I wouldn't be here either. The concept of low hanging fruit, yeah, I know. Sometimes I think me and you, okay, we have different fundamental outlooks on certain things in life, but that's good, you know. Yet we could still engage and interact, though. I think that's a good thing. Nicodemus, see, I appreciate that, man. I do. How's my Monday been? Um, Pretty all right so far. I'd say I've been pretty productive today so far. Hope to continue to be productive. Unfortunately, some content creators might have to change if the donations dry up. I mean that's a fear too, right? Like, obviously I don't want that to happen, but you know, I'll do whatever I can. You know, if it gets to a point where it is what it is. I gotta start making different moves, and the thing I'm most afraid of doing, because it's like, you know, if it ever comes down to this, I think I would rather tell you guys first to see if we can stop it. But I have a theory that if things get even more challenging economically, obviously we're going to see that reflected across everything, but I think YouTube, video content creation, streaming, I think all of that is also going to be affected. And I think we're going to see people change, like you're saying. And I think a change that we will see is not a good one, where I think people are going to get even more nuts and outlandish and crazy with what they're willing to do to make something work, to get the clicks, to get the attention, to get the necessary viewership and the necessary clicks to, you know, make enough money. And God, man, I told you guys before, like, I don't want to be part of that rat race. I've been there before on YouTube. I've been doing it long enough. Like, I've made my way through it, you know, and I know what it's like. And you know, to me, a lot of that is low hanging fruit. Like, to me, that's the lowest hanging fruit, where it's like there are so many things for years where I'm like, man, if I just pulled that trigger and just went in with, you know, not on a, but in a way that I'm selling it. I'm selling it. You know what I mean? I could do that, but it's why I'm just so hesitant when I see rage bait, man. And I'm not, I don't want to make it sound like all rage bait is bad. It's like some rage bait it's not actually bait. It's like, no, it's genuine and it's real, but like, I don't know. That's why I struggle to lean into that side anymore, because I feel like, you know, I feel like a lot of it has become, a lot of the internet, frankly, has become what's real and what isn't. And that's why I've kind of chilled out so much, where it's like, man, it just seems like it's so easy these days to just get fucking mad about something and bitch about something and be so distraught about something and to capitalize on everybody's discontentment with everything. And again, I'm not even here to say that it's wrong. It's just that I've been there. I've been down that road, and I in my opinion, people who are doing that consistently, especially if that's how you make a living, like, you're going to be miserable. And I think at some point people maybe start to kind of give into it too much, where it's like, maybe we want to be miserable. And it's not my place to say whether or not you should or shouldn't want to be miserable, but it's just, I think naturally speaking, like, who wants to live like that willingly? So I think it's just, misery loves company. I think that's one of the truest sayings of all time. Misery absolutely loves company. And I think that people like to tear each other down. You see somebody succeeding and you see somebody happy and you see somebody achieving, and like, maybe somebody's in a position where they're like, well, that should be me, and it's not. When a new game releases and people are searching for videos of it on YouTube, wouldn't you want your name to pop up with the coverage? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's this is where I'm going to try. I am. Again, I don't know if I'm going to fail. I'm prepared to fail, but I don't want failure to stop me from at least trying, because what you're describing, that's, but I want to do it in a way that feels right to me. And that's hard because I feel like I'm a little bit late to the game. You know what I mean? So what you're describing, okay, I've been there, but not in the traditional way. So, like, ironically enough, and this is the great irony, we have Days Gone Remastered coming, and then Death Stranding 2. 2019, Death Stranding came out in April. Days Gone came out in April. Death Stranding came out in November. And if you look back at my content, that's where I was with those games. And it wasn't because of review codes or anything. I didn't get review codes for those games. I didn't get preview access to those games. It was because I basically I went against the grain. And that came more naturally to me at the time. So for those who remember, like with Days Gone, there were a lot of people excited for that game, and there was a fair amount of hype for it, but there were also a lot of detractors to the game. And my whole idea was, I'm going to lean into the hype and basically talk to people about how amazing this game's going to be. Now, granted, I can't do that again with Days Gone Remastered, not in the same way, because it's not a new game. But when I did that, I remember that there were more and more people kind of coming out. They were like, no, dude, this game's generic. It's just another zombie game from Sony and whatever. But there were also even more people who were looking for that. They were like, yes, I'm excited for this game, and here's this dude, he's excited for it, and then there's more like-minded people excited for it, and it just worked. And it was even more so with Death Stranding, where a lot of people turned on Death Stranding when they first saw that gameplay, and I didn't. I came to its defense, and I was like, no, dude, this game's going to be incredible, and I was making videos on it, expressing my hype and excitement, and it worked. And it worked. And ironically enough, when I went, I was the hype man, basically, is what I'm saying. Because when I went to go review those games, granted, I was a little bit late to it because I didn't have review codes. When I went to go review the games, there were still people interested in checking it out, but I was not at the top, nowhere close. When it came to being the hype man, I was at the top. And I learned over time that that's a very dangerous game to play. That's a dangerous position to take, because being the hype man comes with the risk of, if it doesn't deliver, you're like, I'm basically putting myself in a position of like, well, MBG, you hype this game. Like, you are the one who convinced me that this game was going to be good and worth it. And so, there's also that kind of downside of like, well, if you live by the hype, you got to die by the hype, right? And I've went through that. I went through that whole cycle. And it's not that I don't want to be a hype man anymore. I that's what comes most natural to me. It's just that I fear I do have a sense of fear because prior to experiencing I got to live by the hype, but when I got to experience what it was like to die by the hype, I was like, you know what, man, this sucks. I'm not gonna lie. It's like the highs are really high, the lows are really low, and now I'm at a point where it's like, all right, maybe I want to like change my approach to it, where I want to be more methodical. Is that the word? I don't know if that's a word. I've reached that point where I've talked for so long that I don't know if I'm making words up or not. But people just want to see your authentic opinion on the variety of new games releasing. Yeah, well, to be fair, what I'm describing as being the hype man, that was authentic. I think it just came easier though, because I don't know, the energy was different at that time. Like I remember there was some friction with Death Stranding, but generally speaking, people's perception of the games coming from PlayStation were different, and I think it was easier for me to lean into that hype, even for myself. These days, it's a little bit more concerning, where it's like, people are. I don't know, man. Like people seem to just not be as hyped them like in general. So it's like if I come out here and I'm like, no, bro, like this is gonna be fucking amazing. I notice that the reactions I get from people tend to be like, whoa, like calm down, man. I remember the hype before the 2023 showcase. I mean, that was the moment, right? That was the day hype BG died, bro. Well, you know what? To be fair though, too, like things have happened in my life since then. I think I'm downplaying. This is where I'm getting a little bit more personal in the conversation, but it's like I think I'm also downplaying the fact that like I am genuinely in some ways a very different person than I was in 2019. It's not like 2019 is not that long ago, but the amount of things that I've experienced in life since then and the things I've been through, it's like, yeah, I think I'm like downplaying the fact that like to myself, where it's like you've changed a bit as a person, quite a bit. And I think part of that is reflected on the channel, but yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, marathon is the focus right now, and like I don't know how to embrace that in an inauthentic way, because like I literally can't. Where it's like I could try to champion this game, but that would require me basically deluding myself into being like, you're hyped for this game, right? And it's like, no, I'm not. And I would say that for Death Stranding 2 and for Ghost of Yotei and GTA 6 and Metal Gear and title like those titles, like those are the games where it's like that's where it just comes the most natural. But the nature of what I do here is, these games are a ways away, right? They're not. I'm going to see if I can maybe start talking about Days Gone a little bit more, leaning into that, because I won't lie. Like, as we are getting closer to it launching, I am getting much more excited. I'm like having flashbacks and memories of how much I actually did enjoy that game. And even though it's not a new game, and it's still kind of sad that as of right now we're not getting a sequel, it's still something that I really want to get behind. And, I want to express to people, like, you should give this game a shot. You might really like it. You're saying your 30s will do that to you? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely feel very different now that I'm in I feel very different in my 30s than I did in my 20s. Very different. Like, shockingly different. And it's one of those things where, looking back when I was in my, like, early 20s, I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. No. And I wonder if that same thing will happen when I'm in my 40s and my 50s and etc. Championing it authentically, though, would require you to have an understanding of Tarkov, though. Yeah, well, to a degree. I mean, I do have an understanding of extraction shooters, but the fact that I've never played an extraction shooter that I fell in love with. that's the problem, right? Like I can't fall like you guys are gonna see me more hyped for something like Forza than probably Marathon. Mainly because I did kind of fall in love with Forza at one point with the Horizon games. And that's good. Like that comes more naturally than even something like Marathon, where it's like, I think Marathon looks kind of cool and I want to try it for myself, but I never fell in love with an extraction shooter. Now, if Marathon was a battle royale, I might feel differently because I fell in love with the battle royale before. You know, like I told you guys, like I got totally addicted to PUBG and I love the battle royale experience. I got my fill. I will say that. Like, there's a reason I don't play PUBG anymore. It's because it's like, okay, I've done as much as I could. But if there was a new battle royale trying to do something a little bit different and entice me, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe I can be hyped for this. But you know, God, I can't wait till I can't say anymore. I'm gonna end up getting myself in trouble. This is the problem with streaming every day. There's stuff I want to talk to you guys about, but I can't. I'm sorry. I'm not used to this. Forgive me. Anyway, yeah, I don't even know what the topic was at this point in the stream, but yeah, I'm gonna try to just continue to do my best, and my main priority right now is I have two main priorities. Priority number 1, maintain the content that I have right now. The Sony price hikes. I want to talk about something else. I want to maintain the cadence that I have right now for the content output, just because I do think we have consistency. I have found consistency in releasing news videos and the streams. And I don't mind doing it almost every day. I like that, but I have to make sure not to, again, overdo it. But now the second priority is what I'm doing on top of that, or what I will be doing on top of that. And that's the unknown, but what I'm working on right now, what I'm working towards. Oh, I didn't even talk about the Call of Duty leak. Shit. That's the big thing I forgot. So, yeah, it turns out there's going to be shooting. You're going to shoot guns in the new Call of Duty game. All right, let me just do a complete 180 here. Wait, hold on. Okay, I try to go to Twitter. I try to go to Twitter to talk about some Call of Duty, and all I see trending is constitutional crisis. Okay. All right. Well, things are just looking great, aren't they? So, the new Call of Duty game that's going to be coming out this year. Do we have any Call of Duty players here? Anybody planning on playing Call of Duty this year? So the members lounge is going to be like a once a week, once a month type thing. I haven't decided on that yet. I'm trying not to, and I know this is frustrating for some people. I don't want to nail down a schedule. Like, I don't want to give you guys a schedule because there's a really good chance I'm not going to stick to it. So what I will say is randomly throughout the weeks, I will probably let you know, hey, we're going to be doing something members related. You know, like there might be a week we don't. There might be the next week we do. So just what I would recommend is if you're a member, have your notifications. They have when you click notifications, you can click some notifications or all. I mean, I know not everybody's going to want to click all, but if you want to make sure that you're always going to get notified whenever we do members content, make sure you click all. I mean, every time I do members content, YouTube they tell me that they've notified all my members. But then I see people come in and are like, bro, I didn't get a notification. And I'm like, okay, well, YouTube's fucking broken. But yeah, like what we'll probably be doing very soon, is so I'm going to be trying out Indiana Jones. Now we're going to be doing an Indiana Jones member stream. Very like, see, this is where like I don't know what day. Like I want to say in the next day or two. So that's the best I got for you right now. I know that's not the ideal answer, but just be on the lookout. We're gonna do a Indiana Jones member, but I'm probably gonna do a public stream too. To be clear, so like we'll see. Like the point is, I will be playing Indiana Jones. I will be talking to you about Indiana Jones. But at some point, if you are a channel member, you're gonna get to watch me play some damn Indiana Jones. All right. Just be at the ready. No, but I do appreciate you guys continuing to support me. I know that some of these answers are not ideal, and I'm not asking for you to just accept them. But for those who are cool with it and ride or die, I really do appreciate it. You'll get your fedora ready. Thank you, Pushing Polygons. Sergeant, you're saying, sadly, I'm unable to gift memberships, nor do I have one. Would be cool watching you play the game. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I might still do a public stream to play a little bit of it. And then, for members, you get to see me play a little bit more of it. Kind of have like an extended part 2. That's my goal. Like, I don't want people to think, again, this is where I'm trying to find that balance. If you don't have a membership, you will still get gameplay streams. Like, I'm still going to do gameplay streams for you. It's just that for members, you're going to get more. And also different types of, like, we will still do the members lounge and stuff, just a little bit more occasionally. The problem with the members lounge, I noticed, is that I doing it every day, I noticed people were very quickly losing interest, and I understand why, because it's like I don't have something like I'm talking to you guys like practically every day in the members lounge, and it's like my life isn't that exciting, my life isn't that exciting. I think people picked up on that. I picked up on that, and it's like I think kind of spreading them out a little bit more, where it kind of feels like we're catching up after a little while. But then again, I am streaming more than ever regularly, so a lot of people, I just feel like they get their fill here. I wanted to ask you guys this question. How many people here watch streamers on Twitch? How many of you guys watch streamers on Twitch? Mamoru, you do. Muhammad, briefly. 0 Point, you're saying nobody? I mean, I know there has to be some people. The reason why I'm asking is because somebody told me before, and I don't know, I never really looked into it, because I don't watch anything. I don't watch anything on Twitch. Is it true that Twitch streamers don't do anything? They don't do any extra, like, they don't do anything for extra for gifted subs except like emojis? Is that true? Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is the whole members only content thing, does that only really exist on YouTube? Morning with the Missus is on a hiatus for now. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, okay, Mrs. MBG has been having a lot of health issues, and she will be on the channel occasionally, but again, that's one of those things where it's like I need to keep that on a very spontaneous kind of, when the timing is right type situation. And I do apologize for. See, this is why I'm always afraid to set things up and create like these things that, hey guys, get excited for this, and then it just kind of falls apart. But Mrs. MBG's been having a lot of health issues, and the truth is, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, not just with Mrs. MBG, but some family related stuff. And yeah, so I don't like, I'm not trying. I want to make it clear too that like I don't want to be too open about everything, because I don't want people to like support the channel for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to prey on people's like sympathy or whatever. Although you guys have in the past absolutely shown that you definitely have my back, and I very like, believe me, we've had situations where you guys have proven you absolutely have my back, and man, that is something that you cannot put a price on. and means a lot to me. But yeah, she don't worry. But I don't want to make it sound like, you know, you're never gonna see Mrs. MBG again. No, she'll be on just a little bit more occasionally and a bit more spontaneously. I'll let you know. You guys are saying you're wishing her the best. Twitch has all advertisements. There are subathons. See, the subathon to me is fascinating. It's just that, like, dude, I've been seeing people have been talking about Twitch. I've been seeing people talking about it, and I'm morbidly like, is there something I'm just not? Is there something I'm missing? Because the way people talk about Twitch, they make it sound like it's like vastly better than YouTube streaming. And people have been telling me this for years, and I'm like, well, I mean, I feel like my audience is here on YouTube, and I've only ever streamed on YouTube. But I don't know, man. People have talked about Twitch in a way where it's like, but I remember somebody saying that to me where they're like, they don't really, you know, like there isn't really the concept of like member only content on Twitch. And I thought that's kind of like fascinating to me because it's like, wow, I wonder why that exists on YouTube then. I don't know. I just stuff I'm thinking about, you know. You want me to jump to Switch or Twitch? You said S. You put an S in front of Twitch, so I read it as Switch. Smurf, you're saying disagree. You can put a price on having your back. Create a have my back tier of membership. Oh, there you go. Seems a bit I don't know about that though, Smurf. I don't know about the optics of that one. Have my back tier. Ride or die tier. There we go. Dude, I can stream on both. I don't know. Mrs. MBG's been talking to me about that for a long time. 2 on the nose. Mrs. MBG's been telling me for a long time. She's like, I think you should try Twitch. And I'm like, this is what I mean. Like, for me, it's the whole idea of like, I just don't want to learn a whole nother fucking platform, bro. Like, it took me so long to learn YouTube. I'm a bit dense in that way. Like, I'm not the fastest learner. You know, sometimes it takes a while for things to click. And I don't know, man. Maybe that's probably a stupid reason, though. That would be the Xbox's dead tier. Yo, no joke. How many people would become a member on that tier level, though? $50 tier. The Xbox's dead tier, $50. I don't think Microsoft isn't going to be very happy about that. Well, I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave YouTube. No. I've grown too accustomed to YouTube. I definitely would not leave YouTube. You can stream on both easily, and the requirements to become a Twitch partner are very easy. Another reason I was thinking about this is because I read not that long ago that apparently they're dropping the requirements. Like, you can just be monetized from the get-go. Or partnered from the get-go or something. And I'm like, it's kind of tempting. I'm not going to lie. You're saying I still struggle with YouTube? I mean, not. It depends on what you mean by struggle. If you're talking about like me on the back end, like figuring things out, not so much. No, it just took me a little bit to figure everything out. I've gotten a lot better. You're saying Twitch is the best, honestly? I mean, should I fucking do a subathon on Twitch? You need to try this, man. There is no downside. If it sucks, you're still here. $50 a month. LMAO, I would just sub to a Twitch Turbo for $12.99 a month. What's a Twitch Turbo? See, this is what I mean. Like this, I've been on Twitch so few times before. I don't even know what that means. What's a Twitch Turbo? I do know about the ads though. For the few times that I did check in on Twitch, I notice every time you click on a stream, you do have like an unskippable ad. And I think that's a platform wide thing. The streamers, I don't think, get to decide that. You need 50 followers, have streamed 7 hours for a month, and have 3 simultaneously people watching and chatting. Oh, if that's it, yeah, that's super easy. We could crush that, I think. It's a Twitch premium subscription. Okay. Huh. Well, I could gorge myself. I, I could gorge myself on success. Jesus. Okay. When you put it that way, it sounds. What are you, Satan? Yeah, we got Lucifer himself in the chat, bro. Do it, MBG. It's such low hanging fruit. You could gorge yourself on success. Yeah, maybe I could try it. Well, I will put this out here too, and keep in mind the shit that we're talking about now at the very end of the stream. I'm just shooting the shit with you guys. I'm not. I'll have to think about things. It's easy to talk. Talk is cheap, right? It's definitely something I've been thinking about. If I am serious though about, because I was thinking about this, I'm like, if I start to really get on a better cycle of playing games more often, like rather than playing them at my exact pace, which the reality is I play games pretty slowly a lot of times. Sometimes I'm quick. But if I start treating it as like maybe I should just start streaming gameplay more often. Like my life isn't in a situation where I could just stream for like straight 8 to 10 hours a day. Too much of my actual life would be exposed, and I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to blur. That's the one thing that always freaked me out about streaming or like vlogging and stuff like that. Where it's like I'm not trying to blur those lines. I want to keep these things mostly separate, not completely, but mostly. So I wouldn't be able to do something like that. But I was just thinking, like, I don't know. Maybe I can create like a Twitch channel for just streaming games. Maybe. But I don't know. Like, could something like what we do here work there too? I don't know, dude. I'm gonna have to do some reconnaissance and look into shit. There's no downside really. There's a lot of just chatting streamers. You get a whole new audience and revenue streaming. See, that's what's interesting to me, because there are so many times on YouTube where I'm gonna be honest, man. Like I don't know that I have any like big meaningful topics to bring to the table, and I'm trying to just like put. It's like I told you. There are many times where I put topics in the title and we don't talk about it, but I'm afraid to title my stream like let's just hang out or whatever, because it's just different on YouTube. Every time I've done that, like people are just very much not interested. But I'll have to think about this. I'll put some thought into it, and we'll take it from there. You think my channel content is suited for all aspects of Twitch? Don't forget about the hot tub streamers. Is that still a thing? You have to watch your language on Twitch. Oh, really? Wait, hold on. Elaborate a little bit further here. I thought it was the opposite. Less thinking, more action. I tend to ruminate. Yeah, probably my greatest weakness, although sometimes it feels like a strength, but mostly a weakness, is I ruminate. I ruminate. That's what I do. You talk about random stuff as well. Don't say something naughty now. I mean, I sometimes wonder if I've gotten too loose on YouTube, where like sure you guys are aware, it's not every like there are streams I go entire streams without swearing once, but then there are like these other streams where it's like I swear literally like 10 times in a row practically, and I do wonder like how much that has impacted my like YouTube's algorithm and stuff. Like they pick this stuff up, they're watching, they're always watching and listening. So I do wonder how much that has affected it. Like I wonder if I went multiple months in a row without saying a single swear, if anything would change. Twitch has extreme and strange rules that could get you banned as a viewer and content creator. I believe that because I constantly see people getting banned from Twitch and then unbanned and then banned. Now, granted, a lot of the bans that I see come from some of the dumbest clips I've ever seen, like people doing straight up stupid shit that I'm like, okay, that definitely makes sense why they're banned. But yeah, it does seem like that happens a lot over there. I'll do some research into this. I will. I think I might have to really consider this. Have you checked the game Where the Winds Meet? PlayStation announced it a few days ago. Yeah, we did. I think we did check that out. I think we watched that live on stream. You could stagger your Twitch membership tiers from $6 to $10. that would get the job done. Yeah, I mean, like, that's another thing I'm unsure of. Like, I know how the membership tiers work on YouTube. I don't know if it's exactly the same on Twitch. Shave your head, start wearing denim cutoffs with a cool MBG Army rocker. Do a whole pseudo biker thing. And I'm not even a biker. Try not to laugh. Compilations are going to be funny. See, I sometimes I am like that person, by the way. Like, the reason why I don't do things in life is because I am that person, and I'm sure you guys have everybody has met this person before at least once in their life, where like they seem like kind of uptight, but like the moment they loosen up, they get way too loose too quick, and they just go off the deep end too quick, and you're like, oh, now I see why you're so buttoned up. I'm telling you, that's like how I've been. Not to say I'm like a maniac. I'm not like a maniac. Like, I've never done anything like truly. Okay, well, I've definitely done some unhinged shit, but like, I'm liable to just go from 0 to 100. You know, that's me, way too authentic and real. Yeah, and that's why I've always tried to like mitigate what I do and not get too loose. Because anyway, guys, we are over 3 hours into the stream. I think this will be a good place to wrap it up. I have some gaming I gotta do, man. You know what? Hold on. Speaking of gaming, let me. Okay, so I'm still awaiting a code. Hopefully it still goes through. I'm still awaiting a code for Indiana Jones, and I might, if I understand correctly, I might be getting it today, so a little bit earlier, or I'll have like a little bit more time with it. Just a slight early access. I don't know. If I do, I'm gonna have to see if I can. Yeah, they forgot about me. That would be so funny, dude. If they do, I'll ask if I'm able to stream it today. Probably not. So if that's the case, I'm just gonna focus on playing it on my own. Tomorrow, the early access version, the premium version of Indiana Jones comes out tomorrow. The regular version, that's not the early access one, comes out on the 17th. So we'll see. I want to. Funny cat videos are the best, man. Would I only stream on PS5, or would I also stream on PC for gaming? I mean, for now, I'm gonna say PS5. Like, the only time I would ever consider gaming on PC is if that's really the only way I can experience a game I really want to play. You watched an unboxing of Indy for PS5, very bare bones. You get Tin Blood. You're saying you're getting the collector's edition of Indiana Jones. Microsoft forgets about MBG. I can see the videos now. Well, you know what? Just the last thing I'll say here before I wrap up the stream. I am definitely trying to I am trying to establish like contact with some publishers and stuff, and I'm trying to make some moves. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I'm just trying. I want to try to get in contact with Sony, but I don't know how. So I don't so if there's somebody here watching, like, there's 150 people left in the stream right now. If there's somebody from Sony PR watching, please send me an email if you want. I mean, I would love to get in contact with somebody from Sony, because I'm okay if like they reject me. I don't know where to even start. Like, I'm finding it very difficult to. You think Corey Landiga will help me? Oh, you think he's? No, I don't think Corey works at Sony, bro. It's like he secretly does. He's like, oh shit, they're on to me. But it would, I would like to definitely make that happen, because it would be cool. I think that would help the channel a lot, but I'm totally cool if nothing can happen either. I'm not gonna lie, you know what it is? I'll be honest with you guys. Microsoft is talking to me, you know, like, which I think is very cool. Like I'm quite surprised how nice Microsoft's PR team has been, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is pretty cool. Like, you guys are reaching out to me and treating me nice, and that's very, like, I'm just saying, considering, you know, some of the content I've made on the channel, I could totally understand why they're like, no, dude. Um, but I think that's very cool. It's just like, Sony, bro. I mean, it's just a weird look, you know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell Sony. It's just, I don't know what to. I don't know what to say. Like, you know, Microsoft, they reached out to me, bro, and it was very nice of them. Maybe it's because that stream I did where I played on Game Pass. Really? Oh, you think that's what it was? They were like, "Oh, look, he did it." Sony saying MBG betrayed us. Never close the door, even if it's a game you're not interested in. Yeah, I see. That's what I'm saying though. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm like too honest, where it's like, yeah, I'm not interested in this game, but you know, I'm trying. I'm trying to get a little bit more. I'm trying to be a little bit more open to different opportunities, because, like I said, man, there's been so many times in the past where I've gotten offered stuff that I'm just, not stuff, but like occasionally publishers, occasionally games, and I'm like I'm certain, like I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna tell you what games they were, but I am positive there are games that I've gotten offered in the years past that, because they were not my cup of tea, but I've seen many of you guys talk about some of these games and express excitement for them, that you'd fucking lose your mind at the idea of me just being like, no, I'm good, bro. So, you know, it's because I hated Concord. I don't know. Maybe. Did I see a new prototype is in the works? I did see that. Very random, but I think welcome. I think there are certainly prototype fans out there. We're good. You're only hurting yourself. Well, that is very true. That is true. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I have a tendency to overthink, so I'm going to turn the brain off now. All right. Turn the brain off. See if I can get a couple things done today. And guys, I think that's going to wrap up today's stream. Before I head out, I want to again extend a big thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much for dropping membership gifts or becoming a channel member, dropping any super chats, or dropping any direct donations. As I have said and will continue to say, as long as it's true, I can only do this because you guys make it possible. And so, yeah, I got some gaming that I have to do today. There is a very, very, very slim chance. Just have your notifications on. Like I said, I'm going to see if I can stream that game early on my channel tonight. If not, maybe we'll do a stream tomorrow or something with it. So just be on the lookout for that. If you don't hear from me again today, you'll definitely hear from me tomorrow. And I also want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who is back to doing the timestamps. Devil Shooter, shout out to you, man. Appreciate what you do for the channel. If you guys see him in the comments, give him some thanks. Show him some love. I think Devil Shooter found out just how much he was loved and missed for that week that we're able to do the timestamps. And yeah, that does it. So guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday. You know, take care of yourselves, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe later tonight, but probably tomorrow. So that's it. Till next time, guys. Take care.